Welcome back to Sweet Science Boxing and MMA here in Hawthorne, California. As always, I'm Chris, your boxing enthusiast. With me today is co-host Anthony Stack Saldana, lead writer for Supreme Boxing. How's it going, Stack?
What's going on, guys?
Not much. Also to my right, we have Eddie Rosario, recovery specialist.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for having me.
Of course, man. Thanks for coming down.
Absolutely.
And to my far left, Jojo Diaz Jr., world title challenger. What's up, brother?
What's up, everybody? How's it going?
All right, man. Man, you guys made it down here okay today, huh?
Yeah, safe and sound, man. That's for sure.
We've been having trouble with the rain out here.
Man,
you know?
I'm over the rain already, bro. Bring out the sunlight so we can start getting going.
Man,
We got the sunlight. How about you, Stacks? You were flooded, homie.
man, it took me 4 hours last week. This week I got here like in 90 minutes, so it was cool, man. You know, cool little drive out.
Dude, I should show you guys the picture Stack sent me of your neighborhood.
It's
It was
crazy, man.
underwater.
Yeah, the whole
It
neighborhood
looked
underwater, man.
biblical. It did, homie.
like that one.
It did. It looked biblical. I was like, oh man, that's some Old Testament shit right there.
Hell yeah, I was gonna be like Noah trying to build an ark in my
I know.
backyard and shit, man.
I didn't
Okay.
think you were gonna make it down here today.
I'd make it, man. It's all good.
Preach.
I
Preach,
appreciate you
preach.
guys coming down here today.
Like I said, we really appreciate it. I mean, I do as well. I'm sure Jojo does as well. We're looking forward to the opportunity to, sit here and chat it up.
Word, man. Hey, you know what? I was saying just before we started the show that you were the first recovery specialist that we've ever had. We had a ton of people. I mean, we've got fighters, trainers, insiders, like all kinds of different people,
Yeah.
strength and conditioning, but never a recovery specialist.
Sure.
And so I've been following, checking out your Instagram and stuff like that.
Appreciate that.
And I see you guys do a lot of different stuff, like methods that I personally have never tried in training for recovery and stuff like that, like cupping, and you even invented your own method
Yeah,
of recovery,
sure did.
right? And that is
It's called interactive mobility therapy.
interactive mobility therapy. So it's kind of, I'm going to try and describe it based on
Please.
what I've seen.
Please do.
So to me, it looks like a form of massage therapy that incorporates resistance into that process as well. Like, for instance, use of resistance bands, and it's more interactive in the sense that you're not as the one receiving the therapy.
Right.
You're not just sitting there the whole time.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, when I came up with it 3 years ago, I just felt people needed to be more engaged throughout their session. Being a therapist for the past 12 years, I just felt massage was really boring, and I needed people to understand there's a lot more to it than just kind of laying down and falling asleep. And so in this generation, people want to get better faster. So when I came up with this method, I just felt that if I'm able to integrate some interactiveness within the actual system, it allows people to understand their body, number one, but number two, have a better relationship with their therapist. And, since the 3 years that I've been doing it, I mean, obviously, Jojo's one of my biggest clients. And I'm sure, he can tell you some good stuff that we worked on, but, it's all about a process. And I think recovery is such a huge thing in boxing, number one, but along that scope with even kids. I work with kids. I have a 9 and 8 year old myself, and I do work on them too. So it's a lot bigger in terms of the spectrum of what recovery is in regards to getting better faster and going back to do what you want to do at a higher level.
Gotcha. So Jojo, where do you incorporate recovery into your training process? Is this like you do a hard day of training, a hard day of sparring, and then you do some recovery? Or is this like after your fight you do some recovery stuff? Like, how does it get worked in there?
It's mostly almost every day during training camp because I know how much it is, how much it's. Yeah, I mean, recovering is one of the main factors in training, because if you can't fully recover properly when you're training, then you can't honestly give your best when you're training. Like when you're actually working out and giving your all, you can't do it because of your soreness or your tightness. Like during this last camp, my sciatic nerve was giving me a lot of problems, like towards my ass cheek area and my thighs, and it was like really bothering me. And I was telling Eddie that whenever like I would work out and go running, that it was just always there. And he would give me like he would send me like text messages and stuff like that of like little massages that I could do to work on it myself. But I always had Eddie go out there to my place and massage me out, and always focus on my sciatic nerve for it could be more looser, more relaxed. And I felt the difference, and I felt the results, and it made me fight like how I wanted to fight my last fight, instead of actually being tense and tight and not able to do what I'm capable of doing inside the ring.
Cool. And there's other stuff that you guys too. So like, so for instance, cupping as an example. I saw you on Instagram post something where you're cupping.
Yeah.
Now I've never done that. What is that all about? Like, I'm not even sure how to describe it, but like it looks interesting.
Yeah. I mean, cupping's been around for ancient. So, if we're going to go in depth, we're talking about 4,000 BC. It's been around.
Whoa.
So we're talking real deep. So, but now, ever since the Beijing Olympics, when Michael Phelps came out with, dots everywhere, everybody's like, man, why is this guy all bruised up? So they started looking into that. So how I incorporated in, like, speaking with Jojo, what we do is not just the cupping factor. There's a lot of intricate pieces to it. Essentially, what cupping does, it brings all of the stagnant blood to the surface and allows it to disperse in equal amounts. So instead of having trapped energy like in Chinese medicine, we're able to expel that and allow the body to heal itself internally. Well, I take it to another level when you attach resistant bands to that, and I'm sure Jojo can attest to that. It's a little bit painful because now you're not just staying there stagnant, you're actually moving within the cups, and those cups get tighter and tighter and tighter. So the cups are a great facet for the recovery system, especially for boxing.
And all this stuff, like the active recovery, all this kind of stuff, I imagine it's good for any types of athletics. Like not just boxing, right?
Oh, no,
like
indeed.
Everything. Yeah,
No,
it covers
absolutely.
all the sports.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Stephen McCowan, what's up, brother? So there's something I don't mean to digress, but Stephen, I don't know if you recall this, but several episodes, it's been a while since Stephen jumped on the chat. You know where I'm going
before
with
the
this?
Caleb Plant fight. It was the week before the
man.
Caleb Plant fight.
Man.
We had a sucker on here make a bet.
I
with
had
this
Sun
cat.
Hot Kim of Inside the Ropes was on here, and I appreciate all of my guests. But Sun Hot made a bet with someone who was on the live chat for the Caleb Plant fight, and the bet was that Caleb Plant would get at least one, what was it, like a 119 scorecard?
Yeah.
At least one 119 scorecard. 119, 110 or whatever. And it was out the window as soon as somebody got knocked down. It was a ridiculous bet.
Yeah.
So, but, being the gracious host that I am, I agreed to cover the bet. And so the bet,
Okay.
the bet
Got a
was
big heart.
a beat the count. Yeah, he remembers.
here to claim it.
I love
Shoot
it.
your address, bro.
You remember. Okay, so check it out. So the bet was a beat the count t-shirt, and if for somehow by some miracle Caleb Plant was able to get a 119 type scorecard, he would write a glowing review that included how handsome the host of this show was. Although I think he said he would leave that part out of it. Needless to say, I lost that bet, and I have your shirt, brother. It is literally sitting
Nice.
in a bag over here. So I'll tell you what, you don't have to post your address information onto the live chat, but he can come on and hand you guys the stuff. Yeah, no problem.
Appreciate it.
But you don't have to post your information in the live chat. Hit me up on Instagram or something like that. DM me, or on Facebook. You could hit me on email. Beat the team at beatthecountpodcast.com. Send me your t-shirt size. Send me your info. You got the shirt. What a silly bet. It's okay because Sun Ha Kim, I did observe, was on. Go ahead, walk in front of it. You're good. You're good. It's all good.
Thank you, bro.
But Sun Ha Kim was on. You'll write a great review anyway. I appreciate you. Brother. But he was wearing a Beat the Count shirt on Fox last night. Did you see that?
Sitting behind Fernando Vargas.
Sitting behind Fernando Vargas on Fox,
Oh
repping
my God.
Beat the Count. So you know what?
That's dope.
We'll call it even.
There we go.
We'll call it even. And I appreciate the review, brother. In advance. We're here with Edwin Rosario, recovery specialist, and of course Jojo Diaz, world title challenger. So we were talking about some of the aspects of recovery. We were talking about cupping and stuff. Have you done that? You've done the cupping thing?
I done it all.
You done all that?
Eddie's done everything with me, man. Yeah, it's very.
Are you
very
like the
painful.
guinea pig? Like he's
Nah, I'm
testing
not,
it
I
out?
wouldn't say I'm the guinea pig, man, because Eddie knows exactly what he's doing. He always breaks down everything that he does whenever we do our sessions. But I mean, it fucking hurts, dude. Like,
Yeah. I bet,
yeah,
man.
it's fucking painful. But at the end of the day, man, like once I'm done with my massage, I feel like a brand new person. Like I feel like I'm ready to go run like 10 miles again and stuff like that. So it's all worth it.
It's all worth it. So you've done it. So what's the weirdest technique, or what's the strangest thing that you've tried that you think?
I would say the cupping like towards my ass cheek, dude, because like that shit made my fucking ass cheek look like a muffin, huh? Like all the skin and shit was just like.
Yeah.
There's a lot of therapy going on in that ass cheek
Fortunately,
area.
Hey, you know what? You know, I mean, on a whole medical standpoint of things, but yes, the glutes are a huge asset. No pun intended.
Yeah, a
in
huge
training,
asset.
obviously, you know what I mean. Like I work with, you know, obviously Jojo Diaz. I work with Dominic Brazil.
Yeah, I
you know,
saw
he's
that.
6'7", 260 pounds. I work with Bone Collector from And1. You know, he's a street ball
Yeah,
legend.
Yeah.
I follow him on YouTube.
Yeah,
Actually, him and
so,
Professor and those cats.
Exactly.
Professor.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I work with Bone Collector. So you know, when to answer that question in regards to, you know, not just boxing, it's just it's a wide spectrum of you know, athletes that I can work with, that I have been blessed to work with. Like I said, Jojo, Dominic Brazil, Bone Collector, Abner Mares. You know, he's given me an opportunity to work with him. So, you know, my form of therapy, like I tell anybody from Jojo to Dominic, whoever it is, or even just the, you know, the hardworking CrossFitter, 9 to 5, hardworking mom and dad, it's going to be different, and it is result based. I'm not there to, you know, sit there and, as we like to call it in the industry, foo-foo you. I want to be able to educate you, understand the process, so when you do come back, we're not focusing on that same thing. We're focusing on other things that you might want to have done.
I got a question for you, Eddie, man.
Sure.
So you're talking about, you know, some of this recovery goes back, you know, thousands of years, man.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of new recovery as well. You know, you see some of these guys that are getting into these
Cryotherapy.
This cryotherapy, right?
This
Yeah.
is good too.
So cryotherapy.
You
Okay.
done that one too?
yeah, I done that one too.
Okay, because I've heard different things on that, man. I've heard
Yeah.
that the old school, you know, just the ice baths actually penetrate into the muscles and into the bones a little bit
Sure.
more than the cryo does. That the cryo only penetrates, you know, so much of
Superficial.
the muscles. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
superficial compared to the old school way of soaking, man. What's your take on that?
You know, I've done both, and that's one thing about me. Before I try anything, I have to do it on myself, right? So I've tried the ice bath. It's just too damn painful. I mean, it's a mind over matter thing.
Compared to cryotherapy?
Yeah, compared to cryotherapy. Cryotherapy, you're in a chamber for 3 minutes, and you're rotating every minute. You know what I mean? So we're able to get each section of the body, but I mean, it's to each his own. If you're an old school cat, you're going to do the ice bath. If you're a new school cat in this new generation, you're going to do cryo. So, you know, not just the chamber, but there's localized cryotherapy on top of that. You know, there's a machine, there's a tube, and, you know, liquid nitrogen comes out of it, and it, you know, you're able to isolate certain sections of the body instead of putting your body throughout the whole thing. So it just really depends, you know, it really depends on what you want to get done and how fast you want to recover. So
given the spectrum of athletes that you can work with, how'd you get into the boxing game? Like, where did boxing fit into all this?
So boxing, funny enough, you know, I've known Dominic Brazil since elementary school.
Oh, okay.
And so him and I go way back. You know what I mean? So when he entered the Olympics, I reached out to him because I started to invent, you know, IMT. And, you know, he's like, yeah, as soon as I'm done, you know, I'll get to you, whatever. And, you know, a couple years later, he tried it. And that's how I got into the boxing game, is through Dominic Brazil. And then, you know, shout out to Coach Hudson, which is, you know, strength and conditioning coach. He introduced me to Jojo and his dad. So ever since then, you know, it's been great. I have boxing in my blood. My dad's second cousin is Edwin Rosario, the famous boxer.
Yeah.
So I've always had it in there. I never fought. I've always wanted to. But
you always wanted to fight?
I've always wanted to fight. Yeah, I wanted to have that experience, at least to spar. But now that I have to take care of the JoJos of the world and the Dominics, you know, I'll wait till I, you know, blossom with that.
You don't want all those ass cheek problems in your life.
I don't want, yeah, exactly, yeah.
All those ass cheeks.
Though I will cup myself. But yeah, absolutely.
Oh, man. And JoJo, you've been boxing for a long time now.
Yeah.
How many years has it been? Like, when did you start boxing?
I started boxing when I was 11, so I'm 26 now.
Yeah.
So about like 15 years now, man. So it's been a rough journey, man, a rough road. But at the end of the day, man, I'm still seeing light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm just like motivated, very determined. I started when I was 11 years old, when I was bullied and stuff, picked on, and I just built a little foundation and built myself with my dad. And my dad didn't know anything about boxing. He just started looking up YouTube videos and stuff like that.
one of the most fascinating and intriguing stories.
I agree.
And the idea that your dad, who did not have a background in boxing, has now trained, a world championship caliber fighter. And you hear things all the time of sanctioning bodies and things like that, debating whether or not fathers should be able to train their children, or parents, I should say, should be allowed to train their children. But you look at the example of your success and how successful you've been in your career. People like Joe Calzaghe, who was also trained by Enzo, who was also not a boxer, really. You know what I mean? And there's so many examples of it today. I mean, Sean Porters of the world and all these people who are successful fighters. But this one is so interesting because he really didn't have a background in boxing.
Yeah, my dad didn't have anything, like no background. He did a couple street fights when he was younger and stuff like that. Yeah, but
don't we all?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So like, he never like learned any like boxing until once I was honestly committed to the sport. That's when, like, because my father, he wants me to be the best at whatever I do. So I used to play baseball, and he used to always like take me to like pitching coaches, batting coaches. He always just put his 100% effort on me to get better because he wanted me to look good when I was out like on the park and playing and stuff like that. So once I started competing with boxing and stuff, he knew that I was pretty skillful, and he knew that I just had that natural talent. Where he said that, man, you know what? If we're gonna do it, Jojo, we got to go all in. And that's the thing I like about my father. His mindset is really like he always wants to seek success, and that's what I think about with anybody, man. If like you really give your all to whatever you want to be in life, I mean, you guys could achieve it as long as you're honestly like being really committed, putting the sacrifices in, doing the dedication, and being determined, man. Anything's possible, and that's what me and my father are showing to this day.
Yeah, and I think some of the mentalities is like, a lot of people probably would have said, if you're interested in boxing and I want to support that, right, I'll take you to a boxing gym, right? Or if you're interested in boxing, we'll get you a coach, or we'll get you something like that. Yeah. But this was very different. He decided to learn the craft on his own, essentially. And so this was mostly done, through internet research and things like that?
Yeah, basically just reading like some books, like some ringside books, and like the Teddy Atlas like YouTube videos and stuff, the demonstrations. He used to watch all of those, man. And he used to tell me, Jojo, great, like, bro, the best body shot is the right hook to the body, especially because you're lefty, you can set it up good. So that was like one of my key things in the amateurs was a body shot. My left body, my right body shot was like very, very vicious, and I just started picking that up, and me and my father just started learning. And the thing about us too, we're like sponges, man. We absorb everything and we soak in everything. So like when we like travel and go to other like training camps or go to other coaches, if they try to like tell us something, then we're constantly learning. We're not thinking that we're like better than them or we know it already, because we're not, man. I feel like there's always room for improvement. Just to better yourself and to better yourself as an athlete and as a boxer. So I always think that I could always improve with just anybody, man. If like somebody tries to criticize me, I don't like take it as offense. I'd be like, man, maybe he's telling the truth. Maybe I should work on that and stuff. And then I go to my dad, and then we just go from there.
So with that being said, your dad brought you up. We know the story, as far as coming up as an amateur and a professional. But just recently, you've added Jojo Diaz to your training camp, correct?
Yes, I have. So it was just a matter of knowing that I had to, be isolated, because I was at my gym, for 15 years, man. The same local boxing gym in South Amani Teamsters, and it was kind of like becoming like a regular thing where I wasn't having that ambition. I wasn't like being as determined as I should have been, because the boxing gym that I'm at now, it's a local community center, but there's no like up and coming fighters, or there's no like top prospects or anything at the gym now. It's just basically a boxing gym to keep the local kids out of the street now. So it's just like basically the 1-2 foundations and having to pivot and stuff. So it's not like I could have like somebody that's actually working as hard as me and like as determined as me. That makes me motivated as well. So it's just me and my father, and I had to be self-motivated and try to like self-motivate myself when I was over there. So I kind of like knew that I needed a change, and I want to stay away from all the temptation and stuff as well. So I knew going to Indio, me and Joel, we go way back, man. He's a great guy, and he's just he has a really great personality, and I know that I could trust him, and I knew that he's a good trainer, and he has a lot of experience inside that ring, and I know that's in Indio, and he has like a couple condos that he rents out to the fighters. So yeah. I ended up reaching out to him, and he opened to me with open arms, man. He said, yeah, I want you to be a part of the team, and I want you to, be the best JoJo that you can be. So whatever's going to make you be the best JoJo. So I ended up going out there for 8 weeks. I loved it, man. I mean, Joao, he wasn't my main trainer. He was just a person that was actually like giving me advice when I would like hit the heavy bag, or like when I would do like sparring. If he's seen something wrong, then he'll help me out there, and he would hit mitts with me and everything. So overall, I loved it, man, because not only was I more motivated, but just being around that type of environment, all positivity, hanging out with like Diego De La Hoya, Oscar Duarte, and a couple of Russian guys that are just focused. Like their main focus is becoming a world champion, and their main focus is to be a boxer and to win a lot of fights and stuff like that. That's what brought me back and made me more motivated and made me hungry again.
So this was your first fight with Joel? I know he wasn't your main trainer, but this was your first fight, bringing him into your camp.
Yeah.
And how was that fighting Charles Huerta? Because I know you and Charles, man, you guys go a ways back, so you guys have been friends for a while, right?
Yeah. So me and Charles go way back, man. Charles is like one of my homeboys, man. We hang out. Sometimes we go to a bar and stuff like that. Like I've known him since I would say about 13, 14 years old, man. We sparred a couple of times and everything. We grew up together. So he was a really good guy, but at the end of the day, I knew that it was a business, and I knew that Charles Huerta is going to go out there and try to knock me out just like I'm going to try to knock him out, man, because even when we're sparring, dude, like a lot of people, they don't realize that, yeah, we might be friends like outside of the ring and stuff, but even in sparring and stuff, people try to beat the shit out of each other. Like when I spar people, I try to like knock them out. I try to like hurt them, dude. So like I have no respect towards anybody inside that ring, and that's how we knew, like coming to fight Charles Huerta, it was gonna be like that. Like I knew that I was gonna try to knock him out, and I knew he was gonna knock me out. So at the end of the day, it's like a mutual respect, but we got to get it done.
Speaking of world-class sparring, there's a gym here in the Norwalk area, Legends Boxing Gym, which is known for its sparring. I noticed that you were set up down at Legends the other day.
Yeah, sure
and,
was.
So was that basically like a mobile version of doing the therapy, or like what were you doing over at Legends?
Yeah, so that's, again, shout out to Dominic Brazil, right? He kind of linked me into that. So that's where he trains. And then I just popped up one day, man, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to showcase what I'm doing to all these fighters and see how they take it on. And ever since then, I've just kind of been, chopping in. And now I'm going to actually, it's in the works of actually opening up my first facility inside Legends Boxing Gym right now.
Oh,
so,
cool.
Yeah, so it'll be a lot easier for, the Jojos, the Dominics, the up-and-coming amateurs, and, world titleists that'll come in and, get that real true recovery for me. So I'm really looking forward to the opportunity.
Awesome. Yeah, a lot of world champions and competitors down there. And thinking about that, Jojo, you're only 1 week removed from that fight with Huerta, but you're at 130 now.
Yeah.
And there's what seems to be a lot of opportunities, or a lot of directions that you can choose to go at this point. So, for instance, just mentioning a number of things, there's still world title holders at 126 that you named that you'd be interested in, if the big fights like Leo Santa Cruz, things like that. Now, Andrew Cancion, a world title holder at 130, right, who is obviously was on that same card or picked up the world title. So in terms of direction, are you looking more for big fights, or would you be interested in pursuing sort of belts and championships, or do they go together? Do you have to get one in order to get the other?
You know what? For me personally, man, I want to become champion, because I honestly want the big fights to happen, but I want to become champion because at the end of the day, man, that's what I truly wanted to be growing up and everything. Like I want to have a world title around my waist, because I know that I work extremely hard. I put in all the work, I put in all the miles, and I go the extra mile, man, with the sport of boxing. I know I train really, really hard. So not only for myself, but for my family, for my dad and everything. I just want to have a world title around my waist, just to show them that all the hard work paid off. But I know that once I become champion, man, all the big fights are going to come.
Yeah.
And I mean, I honestly, personally want the big fights right now, but it's just a matter of like actually setting them up and letting them happen, because like I could fight at 126, but then like I feel like, okay, if I fight at 126, I might, if I do win and stuff like that, then am I gonna like just vacate the title?
That basically means you have to stay there.
Yeah,
and you have to vacate.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. So it's kind of like a little iffy type of thing where I'm going through right now. But I just got to trust my body and honestly like go with the healthiest situation. And I feel like staying at 130 right now is the healthiest for me, because 126, I was depleting my muscles too much. I was training 3, almost 4 times a day, and just like really on a strict diet, and it was still like hard for me to come off, man. And like once I hit like 130, 131, that's like when it's like really, really hard for me and really, really tough for me. So I'd rather not like deplete my muscles and my body for those extra 4 or 5 pounds. I'd rather just, be comfortable and making sure that I'm a lot healthier and just fully hydrated for a fight night.
One thing that comes to mind is a lot of these names, people like Leo Santa Cruz, obviously in the media, we talk about conflicts between promotional entities. We talk about conflicts between networks, like DAZN versus other types of networks, Fox versus Showtime, or Fox and Showtime, I should say. Is that something that, are we just making that up? Do you feel that as a fighter? Do you feel like there might be people I want to fight, but that one might just be hard to make, and we need to kind of target some of these other people?
Well, absolutely. I mean, because boxing, it's a very tough sport, man. There's a lot of guys in boxing that have like their little ego, where they don't want to set up fights and stuff like that, because they have that little ego on their shoulder and stuff like that. So it's kind of like sucks for me, because I know that I want to please the fans and give them the fights that they want, like with Oscar Valdez, Leo Santa Cruz, Aaron Mades. Like, I know these are the fights that my fans and everybody will want to see, but it's just hard because we're in a different promotional company. So I feel like it kind of sucks, but then also like, I feel like these fights could be made as long as we constantly like put that pressure on like the promotional companies, just like with the Gary Russell fight. Like, I started putting the pressure, exactly. And then it just freaking happened. So I mean, you never know. Some people say that it is a lot of politics, but I just feel like it's a matter of the fighters if they actually really want it.
You faced Oscar as an amateur, right?
Oscar Valdez? Yes, I did. I actually faced him in Baku, Azerbaijan. For the world, it was like a world tournament, and whoever won that fight qualified for the Olympics. Okay. So I ended up beating him by like I think it was like 1 or 2 points, man, and I ended up qualifying for the Olympics. Dude, it was awesome, man. It was a tough ass fight, man.
Does that actually play a part in the psychology? Like, do you guys, as fighters, do you go in and think like, oh, I beat this dude as an amateur? Does that hover over your head if someone beat you as an amateur and you have to fight him as a pro?
Yeah, it kind of does, dude. It's like an extra motivation. I mean, like with me, with Oscar Valdez, like I know that I'll be like extremely motivated, because I know that I beat him in amateurs. I know he's trying to like beat me now as a pro, so I know that's like, oh shit, that's like extra motivation where I gotta train harder.
I don't know. I think your style beats Valdez right now, and not just because you're sitting up here, but just Valdez has switched with Eddie Reynoso. He's over with Canelo's trainer now, and we talked about it maybe the last episode or a few episodes ago. You can't change a fighter. You can only polish the tools that are there.
Exactly.
Depending on how old they are. The context of that had to do with a very mature fighter, or someone who's well along in his career. Young fighters, I think,
and with Valdez, I just don't see him becoming a boxer. I know they're trying to do whatever they're going to do to try to protect that jaw, but he's always, to me, he's always going to be a slugger puncher, and he is the perfect fit for Jojo style. Jojo's quick. He's in and out. He boxes. If he has to be an aggressor, he will be, but I just think I think Jojo walks away with it. He might get hit a little bit, but
everybody gets hit a little bit.
Yeah,
it's boxing.
No, yeah,
exactly.
Of course it is. Of course it is, but no, he's gonna. I think it. 8 rounds to 4, easy. If that fight were to ever go down, but at 130 now, it seems like just about everybody with the title can be made. That fight for Jojo can be made. You got Burchell, you got Tevin Farmer, maybe not the Gervonta fight, but then the Canacillo fight. So you got 3 title holders there that can work with DAZN and work with.
Who was that last one?
Andrew Cancio. Canacillo.
She got me.
Yeah,
I give Stacks a hard time about butchering everybody's name on the show. It doesn't matter who.
Canacillo.
Yeah. That kind of
sounds like a chili
fight.
sauce. It sounds like a chili sauce.
Like Tapatio.
that Canacillo fight coming up. 130 pounds.
Cancio. There we go, man. And that's probably still wrong, bro.
No, you got it. You're good.
No, but yeah, like I said, there's 3 title holders there that those fights for Jojo can be made. They all fight under DAZN now. So, I mean, there's really no reason for those fights not to be made. So we'll see what happens, man.
Stephen McCowan agrees with you. He says Jojo takes it. So there you go. There's at least 2 people on your side.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'll take it.
Let's make it happen now.
Yeah, let's make it happen.
Man.
So Eddie, do you watch boxing too? Like, are you a fan of boxing?
Oh,
or
man. Since I was a little boy, man.
Okay, so you keep up with all the fights and stuff like that?
If I wasn't watching the Yankees play, I was watching boxing with my grandfather and my dad. So
Did you grow up here?
I'm originally from Manhattan, New York. So
I was going to ask about the Yankees thing, but okay, I get it.
I mean, what Puerto Rican doesn't like the New York Yankees, right? So boxing is. I say that loosely, in my blood, even though I've never, partaken in, getting in the ring or anything like that. But yeah, it's an amazing sport. Now being, really involved in it, obviously on the recovery side with Jojo, and getting to see what he does and what his body goes through and what these fighters go through. It's a lot of research and development on my end, because these guys are trusting me after they spar 8, 9, 10, even sometimes 12 rounds. They're coming to me and say, look, this is what's bothering me. This is what's going on. What can we do? And I take it extremely, extremely importantly that I have to make sure that I'm on my A game as much as they are, because without me being the person that I am, so meticulous and so, anal about what I want to do and make sure that they're okay, is the same aspect in what they get in the ring. So I'm an athlete myself. I played baseball, basketball, football, tennis, golf, soccer, whatever. And so I kind of live vicariously through these guys. And, it's a big honor for them to say, I want you a part of the team. What can we do to get me better? Because I want to get to the next level. And then, it's just off and running at that point.
Got a question for you, man.
Sure.
Has there ever come a point in your career where you've actually had to tell an athlete, hey, what we're doing now is just covering up an injury. You need to actually get this fixed, and then have these athletes tell you, like, fuck you, I'm going to fight. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And just try to move forward, because I know, there's some people out there that'll just say, oh, don't worry about it. You'll be fine. When in fact, sure. Try to cover up an injury.
Yeah. No, I've talked to quite a few people that have said that to me. And I tell them, look, I'm not a doctor. I'm only going to be able to tell you what I see and what I feel during that process. My best advice to them is, look, let's work along the protocol of what I'm trying to have you do, and then if nothing is helping, then we need to take it to the next level. I have quite a few doctor friends of mine that I've reached out to for information. Like, this is what's going on, this is what's happening, and it's not getting any better. What can we do? So I'm not. Like I tell everybody, I'm not your typical therapist by any means. Like, I do a lot of research. I know what I'm doing, and if I don't know the answer, I'm going to get it. And so that's why I surround myself with, great medical doctors as well. So, but to answer that question, yes. And it's very scary because, it could fall on me too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I protect myself by saying things correctly and saying it to their manager while they're there. Like, look, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But you might want to go check this out, because it could be a little bit more deeper than what I'm dealing with right now. So, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because a lot of times in boxing, you see the cuts. You see the fighters that need the stitches. You see the outside physical problems that they have after a fight. You don't really see internally, whether it's muscle damage, whether it's brain damage, whatever the damage may be internally, you don't see it, and sometimes these fighters they don't want to hear it. Sometimes the managers don't want to hear it.
No, absolutely. I've had managers tell me, like, no, he's fine, and I'm like, bro, like, his range of motion's at like 10%, like, he's gonna get stuck. You know what I mean? And I always refer it to one of the most important punches in boxing is the jab. I deal with not just Jojo, I worked with him as the second to last fight with Gary Russell. We're having him get his full extension on that jab, because it's so sharp. And so when I have managers tell me that it's okay, and I sit there, I'm like, bro, like, it's not okay. Like, there's a lot more to this internally that we're not able to see. So get an MRI, get in a CT scan, going to see, the non-traditional side of therapy, which is the acupuncture, the cupping, the naturopath medicine, IV treatments. There's so much in this world that is so brand new. But again, boxing has been around for so long. You have the machismo part, and you're like, oh, I'm all right, dog. That's it. And I was like, bro, like.
But at the end of the day, as a fighter, I feel like as fighters, you got to be like be able to understand and realize that you got to protect yourself, because at the end of the day, you're the one that's going inside there and you're the one that's going to be taking the beating. So at the end of the day, you got to surround yourself with people that actually care about you, not the people that are going to try to fuck you over or just in it for the money and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Like as a fighter, I truly believe, like with me, like all the people that I have around me, I honestly like trust them with my life and stuff, because I honestly like respect them, and I know that they care for me and stuff. Like with Eddie, like I know that he's a straight shooter. Like when it comes to all my stuff, like he's gonna tell me straight out if I have an injury, if I should fight, or like if it's really bad, if it could get fixed and stuff like that. And those are the type of people that you need. Like even like in my corner and stuff, like I wouldn't want a person like if I'm getting like my ass kicked or something like that, I wouldn't want a person wanting me to keep on fighting. I would want them to, you know, to make sure that they're looking out for me and looking out for my health and making sure that they're looking out for my future, because at the end of the day, I'm only going to be boxing for, I would say, about 6-7 years, maybe 8 years max left. So I just got to be cautious and be like very aware, and always be like aware of my surroundings and who I have around me, because I got to be careful, because at the end of the day, I only have like a certain amount of lifespan with boxing.
And the reason I bring that up is, and Jojo, you've been around boxing a long time, so I'm sure you've seen it. A lot of times you get these guys that are like fly-by-night cutmen and fly-by-night massage therapists, right? And they just show up one day and like, hey, look at took a 20-hour EMT course and now I'm a cut man.
Yeah.
And you know,
so
and that's, you know, and it's the truth. And then we see it in these events where these guys, they can't stop a cut.
Yep.
And it's you know, and I'm sitting back on the couch, you know, I've never done it in my life, you know, but I'm just thinking to myself, how can somebody that's a real cut man, you know, close up a gash that after the fight's going to require 20 stitches, but this guy has a little cut and he's bleeding like a pig, and this guy is in the corner waving a towel at him and trying to throw Vaseline and just like not doing anything for the guy. And it's like, wow.
It's
you know?
scary, man. I mean, you know, being in boxing now, you know, I've come across a couple cut men. I've asked them questions, you know, how does this happen? What do you do? You know, what's the process? And it's an interesting profession, because there's a lot to the skin when it breaks, man. Yeah. And if you can't stop it, bro, it's no bueno, as we say, right? So,
exactly.
And the fly-by massage therapist, yeah, man, that's
you ever had a bad cut?
I actually had a cut one time right under my eye against Jason Velez. The first round, he popped me like right in my eye. And then after that, I think for my WSB, I got a headbutt on top of here. So.
Oh, that's right. You were LA Matador,
I was
right?
LA Matador,
yeah,
dude.
that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, LA Matador. Hey, but the freaking recent cut that was really, really bad was the Badoo Jack, dude. That shit was,
oh man.
Fuck, that shit was, you can actually see the skull, dude.
There's nothing you could do about that.
There was nothing you could do about that.
Did you see what Tony Weeks looked like after that? They have like the video of him washing his hands in the bathroom. He's just covered completely. That was gnarly.
Dude,
that's crazy, man.
That's probably hands down the worst cut I've ever seen.
That was a really bad cut. Yeah.
Besides like hematomas that people get knocked on their head.
There was a point where like I'm watching that going, he must be blind, right? Like you know what I mean? Like you can't
see shit. Yeah.
No, there's no way.
That was bad.
No way, bro.
Yeah. I thought he was gonna pass out because all the blood.
All the blood that he was losing, right? Yeah.
I don't even want to look at that. I'm not even gonna share that. You guys can go. You guys on the YouTube can go Google it yourself, because I'm not trying to look at that. That's gnarly.
The other bad cut I seen was on the Canelo Cotto card, and it was your stablemate for a while there, man. Bandido Francisco Vargas. When he got cut by the Japanese fighter.
That's right.
Jesus, man. And he went to the hospital, got stitched up, and still came back for the press conference after the fight, man.
Yeah,
that dude. That guy's one that cuts. You know, he's had to take some time off for some plastic surgery, man. But
when I see stuff like that, I see why I'm not a fighter, right? I mean, I'll stay behind the scenes and help these guys recover.
Like, I make a pretty good living.
Yeah, I'm good.
And sometimes when I see that, I'm like, fuck. I'm like, damn, should I fucking still do this shit or not?
Well, you also have done you did the DAZN commentary once, or the Golden Boy, the Golden Boy Facebook commentary.
Yeah, I did I did ESPN one time
too. And you did ESPN one time too.
I did a Facebook Live and then the ESPN a couple times.
I was at the Facebook Live one that you did, but I had my headphones in at the media table watching it at the same time.
Okay, good.
Yeah. What did you think about that experience?
I actually like it a lot, man, and it's very cool that the people like from ESPN and like the Facebook Live people, like the main actually like network people, they actually love my commentating. So like I think I have like a little career after boxing.
Yeah, you got the career.
Yeah.
He's done it.
I'm setting myself up, man.
He's done it before, man. I remember there was a Friday night before Canelo Khan, and they had the ring set up outside of the T-Mobile Arena, and you were commentating
Yeah, had
that
a nice
night
little
too.
suit on and
Yeah.
stuff.
You
Yeah.
got the suit and everything. No, that's pretty cool though. Like, what is your reaction when they call you up and say like, "Hey, do you want to do this?"
Dude, I think it's an honor, man, because there's like a whole bunch of other fighters that they could actually have,
Sure.
you know, commentating and stuff like that. And then for them to choose me, it's like, it's like very like, it's an honor, man. And it just makes me happy knowing that I'm able to be outspoken and people love my analysis and how I analyze people and stuff like that. So it's very cool just knowing that hopefully later on, once I retire and stuff, I can have like, you know, a future occupation that I could do.
Yeah, exactly. See, so you might be all right.
Yeah, so I think I'll be good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you'll be good.
Oh man, did you guys watch any of the fights last night?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Did you watch those fights last night?
No, I didn't watch the
You
fights
didn't watch
last
them?
night, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we had on the televised card, it was John Molina Jr. and Omar Figueroa.
Yeah, but to kick it off, you had that kid that was 6'10" or
6'7".
Oh my
something
Lord,
like.
dude.
Oh my god.
6'10"?
No, 6'7". What, 154?
Yeah.
Yeah, 6'7",
This-
154 pounds.
This kid was huge, man.
Damn.
He was
Yeah.
so thin though.
He was
Yeah.
a toothpick.
He was, oh yeah, dude. Well, cause he's a 154 man.
Man, I
Like,
can
it's
I can
like-
see Munguia breaking that boy in half, man. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah. If
He would
Munguia
snap
gets
his
a
ass
hold
like
in,
a
yeah,
toothpick.
Like it was even. You used to feel that way when you kind of would watch Paul Williams at 147. Like you see Paul Williams
Oh,
at
yeah.
147, you're like, all right, yeah, you're very tall, slender dude.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like you seem way too tall for this division. It was like that, but like to the max. Like you see the guy and you're like, dude, that because he was standing next to him. David Benavidez got in the ring.
That's right. Yeah.
Benavidez, sorry. David Benavidez got in the ring afterwards, and the dude had several inches on David.
Oh, yeah.
Like you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like he
Da-
was like,
and
oh whoa.
I work with David Benavidez right now for his camp too.
Oh, really?
So yeah. So and he's he's what 6'2" maybe.
Yeah, because he's tall. Like I mean, I'm
He's a
not a
tall-
tall man, but when he stands next to me,
Yeah.
he's quite a bit
Oh,
taller
yeah,
than me.
Yeah, myself.
Yeah, and you're quite a bit taller
I'm
than me.
5'10",
Yeah.
but I mean 5'11" with the right shoes on. But,
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, I mean
Yeah,
that kid was
That looks like
beyond.
unreal.
Yeah.
It's like
Did they say what his reach was?
What the?
right?
Yeah,
when
it
they,
looks like they photoshopped it and they stretched him out.
Yeah.
What's his reach?
I was,
Probably like
not
eight,
for
they
sure.
call
like 89 inches.
I know, they call him the Towering Inferno is what
Is
they
that what
call
that's
him.
his nickname?
Yeah,
Sebastian
I think right. The
Fundura.
Towering Inferno.
Yeah, the Towering Inferno.
Yeah, dude.
That's a great name.
Yeah, it's pretty good, right?
It's a
cat
great
that-
name.
Oh yeah,
73-inch reach.
dude.
He's 6'7", 154 with the what?
73. They said 73
That's
and
not
three.
It
bad.
should be a toothpick.
Right?
That
That's
should be
not
sick.
bad.
The
How,
toothpick.
did it say how old he was? Because I mean, I was,
21.
Oh, he's
okay, so
young.
he's
My
yeah,
Lord.
he's young, but he won't get that much bigger.
Mm.
Like that's like
No, he's done. I mean, other than weight, maybe, but
yeah,
Yeah,
a little
he-
bit.
he
a
might
little
gain
bit of
weight, yeah.
gain a little bit of weight, but
he's gonna need to though.
Yeah, he should. He should move up in weight, bro. Should be
Like-
fighting like a heavyweight or something.
Like man, Munguia in there, bro.
Yeah.
I'm good.
He's going to break those ribs, bro.
Jeez.
it was only Stephen McCowan said it was only an inch longer than his opponent.
Yeah.
No, that was a trip seeing
Mm.
him, dude. He was
My Lord.
quite a bit taller. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Oh man, but and then they had John Molina Jr. and
That was a good fight.
Omar Figueroa Jr.
man,
That was a good fight.
good fight. And I'm not mad. I'm not mad at the win. Okay, you give it to Fig,
Sure.
give it to Fig. That's all fine and dandy, man, but one
But 9 rounds to 1 though.
Seriously,
Nine
rounds
rounds to one?
Nine
That was-
rounds to one. Come on, man.
So
Damn, man.
It was that bad though. It was that bad.
No, it wasn't.
It
man.
was back.
no,
it was
that's
back and
like-
forth.
It was back and forth. Fig.
back and forth.
No, I'm talking about the scoring. Like
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
like disrespectful.
Yeah,
no,
it was
they had it
disrespectful,
nine.
bad, yeah.
The one judge had it 9 rounds to 1, and one judge had it 8 rounds to 2. And I mentioned, and I'll put this disclaimer out there. What's up, Dolph? I'll put this disclaimer out there. I didn't have the best vantage point on the fight. I was kind of distant and off the corner. I was behind the cameraman. The referee was moving around in there. So there were portions, whole sections of the action that I didn't really catch the exchanges or who won. So I'm certainly not the best person to judge. And if you tell me I got this one wrong, I can understand that, especially if people are going to pile on about it. From my vantage point, it looked like a competitive fight. I thought that Figueroa had done enough at the end, right? So it was kind of like, oh yeah, he'd done enough, like, but more like a 6 rounds to 4 kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that surprised me the most wasn't that Figueroa won; it was that a judge had it 9 rounds to 1.
That's
and
crazy.
that's like, so I posted the scorecard after that and asked people
Yeah,
on
I saw that.
Instagram, like, was this right? Because it didn't look right to me.
Nope.
And apparently Fox, someone jumped on and told me that the Fox.
Larry Hazard.
Okay, Larry Hazard was doing the unofficial scoring. So they said Larry Hazard had Molina winning.
Yeah, 6 rounds to 4.
Yeah, that's right.
So you know, it just goes to show, man. I mean, okay, Molina, like I said, Molina was the more active fighter. But it wasn't that much more. He wasn't landing that much more, and Molina was landing the harder, more vicious shots throughout the fight. Man, he was snapping Fig's head back. I couldn't believe Fig was, just kept coming forward. Some of those shots that he took, I'm like, wow. Molina would have put anybody else out, man. I mean,
if you notice Fig's body language after the 12th round.
Yeah, he said, "Fuck."
He said, yeah, exactly. He threw his arm.
Threw his arm down.
Fuck, man. And I was like, damn, so you think you lost too? And you got a W, bro?
Right? 9 rounds to 1.
Man, okay. So
I was looking for Adelaide Bird in the goddamn crowd, man. Shit.
Adelaide Bird. Oh, man. I'm sorry, man. Boxeo jumped on. I didn't even know. Bro, you got to stop changing your name, man. The whole Boxeo and then Randolfo and you keep confusing me. But I appreciate you. Thank you for coming on, joining. We were just talking about last night's card. John Molina Jr. and Omar Figueroa Jr. And then in the main event, Leo Santa Cruz and Rafael Rivera for 126 pounds. You actually fought Rafael, right?
Yeah, I fought Rafael, I believe, in September of 2007. 17, yeah.
Yeah, like 4 or 5 fights ago. Something like
4 or
that.
5 fights ago. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a tough gun, man. He's a tough fighter, bro. He's very strong, very slick in there too. So I knew that he was going to give Leo Santa Cruz a run for his money because Leo Santa Cruz he's a whole different fighter than me. He just constantly puts that pressure, and Rafael Rivera likes that. He likes guys that put that pressure for he could throw and exchange back.
You fought him in Vegas, right?
I fought him, on the Canelo card.
The Canelo card, yeah.
Canelo Chavez Jr.
Yeah, so.
Do you remember, can you, back through the history of all your fights? Because you're 28-1 now,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, and you've been doing this, like we said, since you were 11, right? So, do you remember up through all that, all your opponents and how those fights went and stuff like that? Or is it just parts of it are nah, man, I just can't even remember anymore.
I just remember the big fights and the big stages, like me going to Italy for dual matches, then me competing in national tournaments, and then fighting guys that were supposed to beat me and stuff in the amateurs, and then I remember all that stuff, and then as a pro, I remember all my fights as a pro.
All your fights?
Yeah, every single fight.
Do you know the name of your first opponent?
Yeah, the name of my first opponent was Alfredo. Was it Alfredo?
Don't look at the screen. I'm gonna pull it up and see. What
Shit, I know it was a guy that was 6-2 or some shit like that.
Yeah.
He was 5-2.
Yeah, 5-2. Yeah,
5-2 here he is. Yeah, you got it.
Yeah,
Alfaro
Alfaro,
Martinez.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that was a dope ass fight. And I remember my first tough fight was that guy Alberto Cupido, man. It was in Cancun.
Right here.
Yeah, that dude fucking just kept swinging. He had his eyes. He looked like a zombie, bro. He was all stitched out and shit.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, he was like an old time veteran. I was like, damn, bro. I'm gonna have to fight this guy.
Yeah. Well, look at you were fighting dudes who actually had decent records pretty
Right?
early on. But I mean, yeah, a lot of times you don't see guys
He was fighting guys with fucking experience, man.
500.
I was
Jesus
fighting
Christ.
guys that had
dudes who have
experience.
500 and winning records and stuff
Luis
like that.
Maldonado, Raul Hidalgo.
Yeah,
He was
but you
fighting-
also had a lot of the amateur pedigree. Here's a question that I think about a lot with the LA Matadors, for instance, which is, that's technically amateur boxing.
the World Boxing League, right?
It is
Right, yeah,
amateur boxing.
yeah. So it's amateur boxing, but is it very different from professionals? I mean, they're not wearing headgear, right?
Yeah,
and
well,
they're not. And you guys are fighting 4 rounds, right?
Yeah, 4 rounds. No,
Yeah.
actually 6 rounds.
Oh, 6 rounds.
It was 6 rounds.
6
yeah.
rounds even.
So, but basically, it was kind of it's kind of like the amateurs now, like in the Olympics and stuff, because the gloves that they have are super padded. So you can't even
shit.
hurt. You can't even hurt a fly, man. It's
Like 16-ounce gloves. Or
Yeah,
something?
yeah. It's like really padded. So when you try to hit somebody super hard, it's just feels like a pillow.
Was that giving you points to qualify for the Olympics when you were fighting?
No, it wasn't.
That was
No.
after, right?
No, it was actually before.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, I was
See?
I think I was 17 or 16.
Because
Also
AIBA
young.
changed their rules where people that were fighting in that league, they were allowing that to be used as an international qualifier So there was some of these guys fighting.
Yeah, I think that was season 2 because I was in the first season, and the reason why I did it because they were paying. I mean, they're paying pretty good as well, and I was getting like a steady income, so might as well just collect the check.
It's one of those things where like I always watched it and was like, how is this not professional boxing? These cats are getting paid. They're fighting 6 rounds. They have no headgear on. Like, I mean, I guess the 16-ounce glove thing didn't occur to me. But it's basically like professional boxing in disguise. Man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is.
If you're getting paid to do that, I mean, it's damn near professional.
Right. Yeah, like exactly. That's pros, man. Yeah. Y'all are pros when you fight in there.
Exactly. That's how I would have said.
So RR1000 jumped on and said, "Do I think Figueroa won last night?" So I did think that Figueroa edged it out, but I wanna go back and repeat my disclaimer in case you didn't hear it, which was I did not have a great vantage point on the fight. So I was off the corner, behind the pad, behind the cameraman, behind the referee. There are whole exchanges of action that were not visible to me in the ring at Microsoft Theater. So I thought he edged it out. But here's what I'll say more than anything. The fight looked competitive. That's what I thought. I looked at it and I said the fight looked competitive, and I was very, very surprised at a 9 rounds to 1 and 8 rounds to 2 score total because from what I could tell, it was a much more interesting and competitive fight. But let me know what you think, bro. RR1000, jump on. Let me know what you think about it because, like I said, I didn't have a great. I mean, what did you guys think? Did you think he won?
I watched it on TV, and it could have went 6-4 either way or a draw. So if Molina would have pulled it out, I wouldn't have been mad. If Fig would have Fig did pull it off. Yeah. I'm not mad that he won. I'm mad at the scorecard, bro. Yeah. It could have been a draw. It could have been 5-5. It could have been 6-4 either way. But just that, to me, that's a slap in Molina's face, man. Seriously, that's what happens when you start putting this shit on TV, man. You put it on Big Fox, right? So you're getting casual fans that don't usually watch boxing watch it, and then they're thinking to themselves, oh, they don't know who these fighters are. A lot of these guys don't know who John Molina is or who Omar Figueroa is, like we do, because we have the insight on these guys. So if you're just at home watching it, and you leave it on Fox, oh, shit, boxing's on, let's watch it. Oh, this guy won. And then they hear a score, 9 rounds to 1. It's not just a slap in that boxer's face. It's a slap to the fans, because, it wasn't that big of a discrepancy between the scorecards, man.
I think you're assuming that people who wouldn't watch it understand how scoring works in boxing.
Well, I'm sure they understand. I'm sure they understand.
They're like, what does that mean? How did somebody get 109 points?
Right. No, I'm not saying they don't know. What I'm saying is it's a slap in their face. They know. I mean, if they're sitting there watching and they're like, what the hell? How can this happen?
I agree with you, my man. My pops and I were sitting there and we're looking at each other like, for real? Like, are you serious right now? Like, all right, John Molina,
was it entertaining though? Was it entertaining?
It was a great fight. Oh, okay. Great entertaining
Molina
fight,
gave him that work, bro. Molina gave him that veteran work.
He did.
He gave him that veteran work, and for whatever reason. But again, just like in boxing, right? I mean, especially in this form of this new generation too. These. I don't know what's going on with these judges though, bro. Like
again, R1000, man. I'm not arguing that he didn't win. I'm not saying that, man. I'm saying it was a competitive fight. It could have been either way. But 9 rounds to 1. You honestly think that Fig won 9 rounds to 1?
That was my question, because someone hit me back on Instagram and said the same thing and said, no, he did win. And I said, okay, but did he win 9 rounds? That's kind of what I'm saying. Like,
that's what the argument is right now. Did he win 9
rounds, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I don't got no problem with Omar winning. Omar's a good dude, man. I mean, it is what it is. And you got to understand too. When you're looking at these fighters. One's an undefeated guy that's still moving up in the ranks, getting ready to probably fight for a world championship late, a few fights down in his career. And another one basically on his way out. How many fights does John Molina actually have left in his career?
Oh, that's a good point.
So I mean.
And didn't the weight get changed on that fight like a week before? Or
no, they knew that morning that he wasn't going to make 140 pounds, which he's missed weight his last 3 fights, being Figueroa. So they renegotiated the contract and made it a 145-pound fight.
That morning they did that?
That morning they did that,
I was going to say, because when they came in and announced the weight.
That morning they did that
When they came in and announced the weight, I was like, wait a minute, that's not right. Like, I thought this was a 140-pound fight. Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
So, they renegotiated that morning. They knew Fig wasn't going to make 140, so they got with Molina's camp. They renegotiated. They brought the fight in at 145.
Hey, that makes it even better, I guess, right?
Yeah,
I mean, he had to deal with the weight thing and still came out to fight. They both came to fight, dude.
Yeah,
what can I say?
Good fight. Good fight.
Not 9 to 1 though.
Yeah, it just didn't look like a 9 to 1 fight to me.
Not at all.
Molina's a veteran, entertaining fighter. He deserves better. That's from Inspire Media on the live chat. Maybe, bro. Maybe it happens, It happens.
It happens. Exactly, man.
Yeah.
It does.
It happens. And I'd hate to say it happens a lot, but I think when you watch enough boxing, it happens a lot. Judging is so subjective.
It is.
It just kind of depends what you're looking for on any given day, and sometimes people are looking for the wrong shit. I'm not gonna lie.
You know what I mean? Exactly, man.
Exactly. Valid enough to say.
Right?
Sure.
Yeah. Right. Like
Hands
sometimes
down.
they're looking for the wrong stuff, and you're like, what were you looking for? I don't know what you're looking for, but it was the wrong thing.
Or what were you watching?
Yeah.
Like, what fight were you watching? So
Yeah.
shit happens, man.
Are there any guys that I haven't asked. Obviously, you still watch boxing, you keep up with it and stuff like that. Do you consider yourself a boxing fan still, or are you too into it now? Like,
Nah, I'm a hardcore boxing fan, man. Yeah, like I one of my really close friends, like from the Olympics and stuff, is Earl Spence, and I'm a huge Earl Spence fan. Like, he's one of my closest friends, like in the boxing and stuff like that. But just like his work ethic and how he fights and stuff, I'm a big fan of his, man. So I just love boxing in general. I just love the sport of it, like how other fighters break people down physically and mentally, man. It's just I love the sport, man.
So Errol's the guy you like to watch right now?
Yeah, I like watching Earl Spence a lot, man. He's very action-packed and aggressive, puts a lot of pressure and throws a lot of shots, and dictates to the body a lot, man. And that's what I like. I like body shots.
When you were getting ready for the Olympics, were you in camp with LeBron Mitchell?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, actually was.
Heavyweight?
Yeah, the heavyweight, yeah.
Yeah, he said he knew you, man.
Yeah, he's a funny guy, dude.
LeBron said to
he's
tell you
dope,
what's up,
bro.
man.
Yeah, he's my boy.
Yeah. What about the Gonzalez? What is it, Joette? Calling you out, man. What's up with that, man?
He's just really hating, fucking butthurt, bro. Because I beat his ass 5 times in the amateur. No, I think it was 6 times.
Yeah.
I fought him 6 times in the amateurs, and I beat him all 6. So I think he's just fucking hating right now.
Yeah, because after that Rivera fight, I was like, come on.
Yeah, I'll beat his ass again. That's why I even told Oscar and them, dude, set that shit up. I'll beat his ass real quick. Talk so much shit, dude.
Man.
Yeah, that came out of the blue, man. And then he had that shirt on, something about it was like a diss to you, man. When he said, "At least I make weight fat boy," or something like that.
Exactly.
And I'm like, he came out with the shirt that says, "At least I make weight fat boy," and then called Jojo out.
And it's I don't even want to give him my attention or anything like that, because I don't want people saying, "Oh, look at he's falling for the attention and shit."
Yeah.
So I just ignore him. But I go right away when I see that shit, it gets me mad, and I call Oscar and I call Robert and stuff, and I try to set it up. But
Make it happen.
Yeah, I guess Frank don't want it to happen yet, because I guess he's trying to protect Joette and stuff. So hopefully we'll get that fight happening, man. I love to fight Joette.
I can set it up in the fucking Belasco parking lot, bro. It's all good, man.
I'll give him a little 2-piece, man.
We got a question.
I'll buy my hot dog afterwards.
We got a question for Jojo from Inspire Media. He wants to know, what does it mean when the corner yells, "Put the boards on him"?
Okay. So basically, when you're putting the boards on them, it's basically putting your stiff jabs, your stiff punches. So it's just filling them out and making sure that you're keeping range in your distance. So you're putting the boards stiff boards, and then whenever they want to throw a shot, you kind of react, and then that's when you. So it's just basically baiting them in.
Good question though.
Great question.
Yeah,
I didn't know what that was.
Yeah, exactly.
Never heard of that shit. Good, nice question.
Yeah, so
Really?
your arms are
Put the boards
considered
on.
boards. Yeah,
All right.
boards.
I love the corner talk, man. It's one of my favorite parts of all boxing. There's some of my favorite moments are corner moments.
Oh man,
You know what I mean?
agree.
When you hear.
I agree.
I watched this one fight where I don't even remember which fight it was, where Roger Mayweather, Floyd comes and he sits down in the corner, and Roger says, "That shit you just did, do it again." Right? That's all he said in the corner.
But
that
what
time.
did he
I used
do?
to
Yeah,
love watching Roger
like 3
Mayweather talk
minutes
to
of
Floyd,
shit.
dude.
It's that is the dopest corner instruction I've ever heard. That shit you just did, do it again.
Teddy
my
Atlas.
God. Oh my God.
Teddy's he's a character too, man. Oh, Teddy Atlas, we're firemen.
Yeah, we're
Oh, he
fine.
tries to do the motivational speeches.
Teddy
and
does
shit.
that crazy shit. Yeah, you see when he's sitting on the stool, homeboy comes back to his corner and Teddy's on the stool. He's like, "You want me to fight him? You want me to get in there?" Those are great.
I love
right?
Teddy
Those
Atlas,
are great.
man.
Corner moments are dope. Dude.
He's so animated and so
Right.
ready to go. He looks like he could go fight again real quick.
Teddy.
You know what I'm saying? So I like him. I went to go see JoJo live in Fantasy Springs, and it was such a great experience. Not just to be in that same atmosphere, but to really understand what a fighter goes through. For me anyway, live. You know what I'm saying? I get to hear his dad talk, and his dad is a very soft-spoken guy, you know what I mean? I'll never forget when I first met him, because I had an office in a CrossFit gym, and he comes in, and his dad wouldn't leave his side. And I was like, dang, I wonder, what's going on, but his dad, their connection is like true, like, this is my son, this is my everything, I want to make sure he's good. And I got that right from the bat. And then listening to him train him and coach him, it's like, it's an amazing feeling, and it's an experience for me on the outside looking in, you know what I mean, to really have that father-son relationship in the ring. And it's a dope feeling, man.
Yeah. Besides JoJo and your clients, who I'm sure you love watching these guys in the ring and get to understand what they experience, who is it that you're a fan of? Like, what fighters excite you right now in the sport?
Man, that's a great question. To be honest with you, one of my biggest fans I was a fan of was growing up was Felix Trinidad.
Okay. Yeah.
So I loved him. I mean, tremendously. I just loved the way his demeanor, his style. Obviously, biased, right? Because he's Puerto Rican, right?
Sure.
But
that's all right. Everybody's got it.
Right.
Everybody's biased.
Yeah, everybody's got it.
And then once he stopped, when I saw Miguel Cotto coming up in the rankings too,
Cotto,
I was like,
man.
yo, I mean, not just that he looks like me, but this dude, like, he is for real. And then now in the heavyweight division, obviously, again, right, using the bias word, but Dominic Brazil. I mean, a lot of people are sleeping on this man. I'm telling you,
the
man.
WBC finally stepped in, man. They gave him a chance to fight for that interim title, man.
Yep.
So that's a big thing.
No, it's huge.
So that's gonna be a big fight.
Yeah. It's going to be a great camp, because
I think that pushes the fight between, Joshua and Wilder back a year. But hey, it is what it is,
Yeah.
If they were going to fight anyway.
I personally don't think they're ever going to fight.
Yeah, I don't think they were going to fight
exactly.
anyways.
Like, if they were going to fight anyway. But there's so many heavyweights right now that are kind of competitive with each other that there's a lot of interesting fights that you could make. Plus, Usyk is going to heavyweight now, so he's going to fight Povetkin. Yeah.
So I'm hearing May 18th in Chicago with the undercard being Jesse Vargas and Kell Brook. The zone card in Chicago again, so yeah,
that'll be
pretty
cool.
good. That'd be a good card.
Yeah,
Jesse Vargas and Kell Brook.
Yeah, that'd be dope.
Yeah,
that'll be nice to see.
Inspire Media has another question for your in-ring activities. He says, JoJo, you were talking back to the corner and acknowledging their instruction during the last fight while the round was in session. Do you normally do that? Or
It's like it's a habit, man. Because when I'm fighting, all I hear is like my corner's voice. So now that I brought in Joel Diaz, I can hear Joel Diaz as well. So I hear my father and Joel Diaz. I hardly hear like the fans and like the chanting and the cheering. I hardly hear that, man. The only voice that I hear when I'm like fighting and stuff is my father's and now Coach Joel's. But it's even like in sparring and stuff like that. When I'm sparring and stuff and when my dad's saying something, I talk back to him. I'm like, okay, because I want him to know that I'm acknowledging him and that I understand where he's coming from. But sometimes it's a good thing and it's a bad thing too, because when you start acknowledging what your corner's saying, then your opponent, while if they're anything like me, they hear, like, because I also hear what like their opponent's saying, like their trainer and stuff like that. So like if the trainer's saying, no, throw jab, I'm waiting for them to throw a jab for like a counter and stuff like that. So me and my dad, we have like a good connection already where he tells me something, I acknowledge it, but then I wait, like I would say probably like a minute, or it just depends on when I want to actually throw it, because I don't want to like throw it right away, because then the opponents are gonna know.
Real quick, Eddie, to answer your question, man, you had a question earlier. You said, what Puerto Rican isn't a Yankee fan? So I'm going to go to this real quick, man. And it's Luis Feliciano, man. So I want to give him a shout out. He's one of our prior guests, man. Shout out to Luis. He got the big W last night in Puerto Rico, man. So shout out to Luis. And he's a Puerto Rican that's not a Yankees fan, man.
How do you know he's not a Yankees fan?
Because I got on his ass for being a Brewers fan when I'm a Dodgers fan, bro. He's in LA repping the Brewers. Come on, man.
Yeah. He's from Milwaukee, isn't he?
Yeah, he's from Milwaukee, man. I think he's the only Puerto Rican from the Midwest, bro.
Man.
We had a couple RR1000, so we're sleeping on the Polish George Foreman, Kwanaki, and then Stephen McGowan said that he would love to see Brazil take him on. So that'd be a good brawl, good fight. They're agreeing. They're in agreement. We have people on the chat that are in agreement. That almost never happens.
Yeah.
Right.
Good job, guys.
I agree. No, I mean, hey, like I said, I mean, watch out. Just the heavyweight division, watch out for Dominic. We all know, he likes to, kind of pick up the pace later in the middle rounds and stuff like that. But, once they get all this thing finalized with Dillian White, you know, from what I've seen Dillian White fight, especially the Anthony Joshua, he does have a hard time with taller fighters. You know what I mean? So
it's hard not to, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And Dominic has like 82.5-inch reach.
Yeah, definitely going to be a good measuring stick for Dominic, man.
Indeed,
Definitely,
indeed.
bro.
Yeah. So I hope he pulls it off. I hope he does. Really,
And they
does.
also finalized Joshua, Big Baby. Joshua
Baby
and Big
Miller,
Baby.
New York.
That's actually gonna be a good fight too, man.
Yeah, that'll be good.
That shit sold out more tickets than any other fight in the first 2 hours. They said it had the biggest pre-sale gate than any other fight in the Madison Square Garden history.
My Lord.
Oh, really?
And the regular tickets haven't even gone on sale yet, man. It's just like the pre-sale tickets.
Wow.
So that shit
What do you think about that fight?
coming to America. Have you
Coming
seen
to-
Have you
I
seen
seen
the memes?
poster. I saw the meme, the
saw the
poster.
memes.
Got
Coming
fucking
to
Anthony
America.
Joshua dressed up like
saw
fucking
that.
Eddie Murphy from Coming to America.
That's it.
Oh man,
You know
that's
they're
such a
making
good
a part
movie.
2, by the way.
I hope so.
They are.
part
it's-
two?
Works
it's
next year.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I hope he plays all the same characters again.
I would say something on that Coming to America Part 2, but I'm gonna just leave it alone. I'm gonna leave it alone today, bro.
Yeah, probably just don't say anything I have to edit out of the show later. That's
Right?
all. Like you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
We'll tell these guys. We'll tell
sometimes
these
get
guys
crazy with
afterwards,
the
bro.
shit they say.
I bet.
No, hush. The FCC is listening in.
I know, man. Only boxing. You see my shirt here? Just boxing. That's what we do here. What do you think about Joshua and Big Baby? You think it's going to be a good fight, JoJo?
Yeah, but I think Anthony Joshua is gonna lay him out like in 3-4 rounds.
3 or
man.
4 rounds? What do you got?
Same thing, man.
Same thing?
Knockout.
Yeah, I'm
You
right
looking
there.
forward to
I'm
it?
right there with you. Yeah, absolutely. I think he's gonna toy with them. Jerome Miller's one-dimensional, man. He's 6'2", 6'3", maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
315
315,
pounds,
yeah.
you know.
315,
That dude
320.
just eats and eats and eats, man.
Yeah,
He came in. What was he? 75 pounds heavier this
Yes.
last fight than he was the first fight.
Yeah.
He's a heavyweight.
And it
no.
was only like 3 weeks
No
difference
ceiling.
between fights.
They're on that Big Mac
it's-
diet.
Yeah, exactly.
Motherfucker.
Yeah,
That's what
you're
there's
absolutely
no
right.
ceiling. He could weigh in whatever he wants.
Shit, I wish I was a heavyweight Mac. Eat
God
whatever the hell I
damn,
want.
Dude, that is the one thing, like, you know, the fact that Deontay Wilder's really only like 212, like he's like on the almost could drop the cruiser if he
I
wanted
know.
to.
He
It's
could,
pretty
bro.
crazy
It's
because
crazy.
he's fighting dudes who are like 260,
He's got
270.
he's got
No.
so much upper body strength. It's not even funny, man. I mean, because I told you, man. I went down to Toluca Lake to watch him train out there at the Watson's gym, and this boy got like matchstick legs. Seriously, like it's all upper body on Wilder. He has like zero muscle on his legs.
You know how his matchstick legs, that one cat we were looking at earlier on the
Oh shit!
What-
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
6'7",
The
Mr.
6'7"
6'7"?
kid, 154
Towering
pounds.
goodness.
Inferno.
How
the
about when,
Towering Inferno. That's right, brother.
how about when Deontay knocked out the mascot, bro? Like
Oh,
and it
on
punched
the
him out-
ESPN.
Yeah, the ESPN. That shit was funny.
You know he broke his jaw, right?
Yeah.
Oh, he did?
The
What?
mascot. Yeah.
He broke the
He-
mascot's jaw.
Oh yeah.
Are you serious?
Oh no. Oh boy was in pain. I mean, like if you look at that video.
Yeah, he
again,
actually
Oh
hit
my
him
he
hard,
stood
bro.
on the
What
floor.
the
He
hell?
literally like
For a
punched him
while.
hard.
I
Yeah, he
have-
punched him hard.
I
Broke
have to
his
look this
jaw,
up, dude.
bro.
Did you ever see when fucking Wilder beat up that kid, that troll?
troll?
Oh, yeah,
the
the
troll
troll.
Z,
Yeah.
whatever his name, Charlie Z.
Charlie Z.
I'm glad he beat him up, bro, because that guy
Talking
talks
shit
a lot
about
of
his
shit.
daughter. He
Yeah.
talks a lot of goddamn shit.
Fuck that dude.
One of the most popular YouTube videos we have from this show is a clip of Coach talking about Charlie Z when he asked to come. He has to come here and spar. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And Coach wasn't having it, and he went off on Charlie Z, and people.
Tell coach to bring him. I'll spar him.
No, come
Yeah,
on,
set
bro.
it up. I'll spar his ass. Fuck Charlie Z.
No.
And I ain't never fought in my life, just on the streets.
We're
So
gonna make the gym look bad. Shit.
Oh my god.
turned it into like the doghouse on Floyd's doghouse.
Oh my God!
Oh,
I forgot
man.
what I was looking up because of that.
Deontay Wilder
Holy
knocking
shit.
fool out.
Deontay Wilder mascot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right.
There it is, right there. The first one.
This
that
first one right here?
Yeah. This shit's hilarious.
What is that dude?
What is he? Is he on
a
Ellen or
fucking?
something?
He looks like that.
He's on like
He's on his-
ESPN or Sports Center or
He
some
looks like
shit.
the fucking hamburger helper guy. Man.
Was he hitting a burrito?
Yeah. You know what? I think he was, to be honest.
Is it, yeah, like what was that? Skip,
I don't know,
oh,
but he
can
hit him.
skip
He
the
hit
ad.
him hard, dude.
Y'all are just letting me watch this ad when there's a skip button up in the corner. Nobody says anything. All right.
I just want to have my place.
Jesus, there's another ad. What is this?
3, 2, 1.
My God.
ads on top of ads.
I know. I hope I get
There we
some
go.
royalties for
It
this.
is a burrito, bro,
I think it's a burrito, bro.
Yeah.
with some chanclas on.
Dude, he looks like he laid that fool out, though.
He hit him hard, dude. Look at
Bro.
that, right in the face.
Bro.
He looked like he got him, homie.
It wasn't a friendly tap.
Nah.
Damn.
He actually hit him
like
hard.
He hit Stavern, bro.
Yeah.
Like, come on, dude.
Oh
He's
my
all
God.
look at his hand.
He
He's
is
all
so
shaking.
shook
He's
right now,
standing up,
bro.
bro.
Oh my
So
God.
shook. He's probably thinking, man, I don't get paid enough for that.
They robbed Deontay. Okay, so RR1000 says they robbed Deontay. Deontay was down and Fury was standing. That night the ref would call the fight would be over. So
I don't know.
I
Man,
don't think so, bro. He got up.
Jack did a great job, man.
I
Jack's
think-
one of the
I
best referees in the game, man. It is what it is. He gave him a chance. He counted it. It's a championship bout.
That's right.
You know.
That's right.
Here's the thing: not only did he give him a chance, he was proven to be right by the fact that he was able to continue and close out the round
Exactly.
very successfully. Right?
Yeah.
If you gave him a chance and then he got up and got blasted away and then had a concussion and all these different things, then I can see you saying, "Hey, Jack Reese made a mistake," but he gave him a chance. And he was able to capitalize on that chance. He
hands
came
down.
back, man.
Oh,
he
hands
came
down.
back in that round.
Yeah.
He
And,
did.
and it was not and I hear a lot of people, and you can do this for yourself. You don't have to take my word for it. I hear a lot of people say that was a long count. And it wasn't a long count. And so one thing that you guys can do, I encourage you to do this if you think it was a long count. YouTube lets you slow down playback. They let you actually do it at like half speed, quarter
Interesting.
speed, like that kind of stuff, right? You can go and take that clip for yourself anywhere on YouTube. It's on there a million times. Slow down the playback as far as you can go and count from when his backside hits the canvas, not when he's falling and stuff. Count from when his backside hits the canvas, and you could just watch the clock. You can watch the Showtime clock changing. He gets up by 10. It's not a long count. All that stuff that everybody else posts is absolute nonsense.
Here's what Jack had to say about that, man. He said if it was earlier in the fight, heavier damage and Fury would have been hurt when he fell and hit his head like that. I would have waved it off. But the fight was close. The magnitude of the fight. I've always been taught to not count to count a champion out. I wanted to give him every opportunity, so I took my time. Not that I stalled on the count like these knuckleheads are saying. I was patient. I went down to make sure that I was doing it correct. I want to do what's best for boxing, and I always want to do what's best for boxing, he added.
Yeah, Steve
So,
McCowan said you could just watch the clock on the screen during the broadcast. You're absolutely right. You can watch the clock on the screen during the broadcast. Is the same thing Jack
It's
Reese-
it's not 10 seconds. It's a 10 count, man. It's
But
not. It doesn't
matter how you. He beat it either way.
He beat the count, man. He beat the
Yeah,
goddamn
he beat it.
count,
Yeah,
man.
he beat it either way. It doesn't matter if you want to do it based on seconds or
And
not.
like
Like, did you guys see? Did you watch the Tank Davis fight? Did you watch the Tank Davis fight?
No, I didn't
Which
watch
one?
it. I didn't watch it.
Last week.
I watched the highlights of it.
You watched the highlight. Well, yeah.
But
So you watched the
fucking-
fight.
You watched the fight.
Yeah.
It's a goddamn fight.
You watching what? 2 minutes?
There's only one highlight. Yeah.
No, the fucking highlight was the thriller, fucking the dancing.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
That
that's
shit was a
right.
highlight right there.
There's only one highlight from
took
the fight.
15
so
minutes
you
from the
basically
fucking
watched
walk.
it. But if you see Jack Reese stopped that fight with 1 second left in the round, right? It's completely the right decision, though.
Yeah,
Oh,
he
yeah.
was
Completely
out
the
of
right
it.
decision. Dude was
You could-
done.
Yeah, you could tell that the kid didn't even want to fight.
Nah.
He was on his stool for the next 5 minutes after
Yeah,
that.
Yeah, he
And-
was.
And like,
Yeah, he
and like
was.
Jack said, even Jack said after the fight on that, Jack says, hey, man, he says, I gave him the instructions before the fight.
Yeah.
He says, I told him, protect yourself at all times. I'm going to count. He says, I had give him an opportunity to come to me. I asked him a question. I asked him if he didn't want to continue. He couldn't answer my question. I waved off the fight.
Yeah,
That's
he
it,
couldn't,
man.
he couldn't answer the question.
Exactly.
Waved off the fight.
No, like they say, right? You got to protect the fighters. You know what I mean? And I know there's some refs out there that are real quick to pull that, like wave it off. But especially in championship fights, for me anyway, being a fan and being a part of boxing now on the back end, if it's championship fight, man, you got to let these men fight. They're getting paid millions of dollars. These people are paying hundreds of dollars, even thousands of dollars to come see these people fight. Let them fight.
Man,
unless
the
they're
Check
gonna-
this
the
out.
fight I always remember, man, is that Corrales, man. The Chico
Oh,
Corrales against
man.
Jose Luis Castillo.
That's a badass fight.
God
right there.
damn, man. Look at that. He was
amazing.
He was.
it was down
out of it,
twice. He was
dude.
out and came back.
You
came
better get
back.
inside on him now, that one.
Yeah.
You better get inside on him now.
That was
Boy.
Dude,
That
but I
was
will
fun.
I will say one thing in defense of RR1000. If your point is this, if your point is that 9 out of 10 referees would have called it the second he hit the mat, you might be right about that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie about that. There are some referees that would have seen him get down like that and be completely laid out on the mat and would have just said, no, let's get the
over,
doctor
yeah.
in here.
And
right?
it's funny that you
Let's
say
bring
that.
the doctor in.
It's funny that you say that because when we were watching it, when Cynthia and I were watching it, when he hit that mat, I said he's out. It's done.
Yeah. Well, even
And I didn't expect the count.
even the
I'm
bipolar rock and roller jumped on and had said, the second that went down, his comment was Deontay Wilder has done it, right? Like, so
Oh,
he
yeah.
goes down and he goes, Deontay
right.
Wilder has done it, Mamma Mia, and then he got back up,
Yeah.
right? And Paulie was like, he's getting up. right? So like if your point was that, hey, a bunch of referees would have just waived that and not even bothered to count, you might be right about that, brother. I'm not gonna lie. Like a lot of referees wouldn't. That doesn't make Jack wrong in this case, though. I think Jack did the right thing.
Agreed.
But yes, many referees would have stopped it, and I don't think as fans, if we had seen a stoppage in that moment, we probably would not have blamed him. You know what I mean? We probably would have said, yeah, that was good. He was laid out. You know.
Yeah.
So could go either way.
Well.
But I appreciate the comment. Thank you.
So we know you're fans or friends with Earl Spence, man. So you think he'll take Mikey out?
Yeah, I think he's gonna. I personally think he's gonna stop Mikey like in 10 rounds or so. I just think that the constant pressure of Earl Spence and how big he is just gonna be too much for Mikey. Styles makes fights too, dude. And I feel like Mikey Garcia, he's very, very good at people that want to box with him because he knows how to pick you apart and stuff like that. He hasn't fought a guy that applies a lot of pressure like Earl Spence. And him, given the fact that he's moving up in weight as well, Earl Spence is a big 147-pounder, man. He fucking walks around like a 180. He's a fucking big guy, dude. So I just think that just the size of Earl Spence and that constant pressure, I don't think Mikey Garcia has enough power at 147 to be able to push Earl Spence back like that. I think Earl Spence is just going to take his punches and just constantly walk him down, land some body shots, and get him out of there.
Good assessment.
You can see.
No,
You can see the disagreement on
no.
Stack's face.
It's all good. It's all good. No, I'm just listening. It's all good.
It's like, yeah, all right, bro, yeah.
Moving on to the next question.
No, it's good. It's good.
I'm with you. I took Errol. You know what I mean?
Who do you got, Eddie?
I took
Earl?
Errol.
I'm kind of caught in between, to be honest. The reason why is because I've been watching a lot of Mikey Garcia's training. He looks big, and I don't think Earl Spence has ever been hit hard.
Yeah, but that's what we said about freaking Amir Khan when he fought Canelo. Like, dude, Canelo, Amir Khan looked big too.
That's valid.
That's true, man.
Yeah, he went night real quick.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But the thing is about Mikey Garcia is he's a very, very smart, intelligent fighter too.
Yeah, I agree.
And Earl Spence hasn't fought a guy as such as Mikey Garcia's caliber, dude.
Sure.
So I think it's going to be a tough fight for Earl Spence, but it's just a matter of like who's going to break down who mentally in the fight.
Yeah.
And I personally think that Earl Spence, because I grew up with him and I've seen him fight in the amateurs and stuff, he has that dog mentality where he it's either do or die. Like he's going to win no matter what he has to go through, he's going to push through it. And like even if he gets hit and gets hurt, he knows how to like clinch and like fight smart and stuff like that, and then eventually try to break you down. So Earl, he's a dog, Earl Spence.
A couple comments came in on this one. So Nancy Rodriguez joined us, and she says that Mikey has sparred many pressure fighters, and she thinks he's going to surprise a lot of people. I will say in that respect, Nancy, if he does do you know what? One thing I love or that I respect, even though I favor Errol Spence in this fight, is Mikey is daring to be great. Right?
Yeah,
he's daring to be great. That's what he's doing. So, like, he could have fought any number of people. He could have fought fights that are probably even considered easier based on his weight.
Yeah.
Done unifications with Lomachenko or whatever it was. He had a lot of options to go through him. But he's daring to be great with this fight. And I think that Mikey is serious when he says to the media, for instance, at the press conference yesterday and things like that, that this is about my legacy. That's where I'm at right now. I want to be known as one of the greats, and this is what I think I have to do. And I respect that because it's great for us as fans. It's great for us as fans that these two men want to fight. You know what I mean?
I see Mikey. I see him wanting it. Of course he wants it. He wouldn't, if he didn't want it, he wouldn't go up to fight it. But I just think that, I look at some of these other fights like Pacquiao and De La Hoya, the first Duran-Leonard fight, and I see Mikey coming inside. I don't know how good of a fighter inside Earl Spence is, but I can see Mikey clinching a lot and not letting Earl land those shots. If he can get inside and turn it into a dirty fight and clinch in and out and use his speed on Earl. I'm not saying Earl's not fast because Earl probably has just as much speed, if not as much as Mikey.
For sure.
But if he can get in and clinch and get in and out, he can upset him. I don't see him, stopping him. I don't really even see him hurting Earl. But if he can box him and clinch and make it a dirty fight, make it tough to score,
So
he can pull it off.
I personally think it's a smart decision for Mikey Garcia as well. I mean, I think it's a win-win for Mikey Garcia.
Exactly.
100%.
And it's a lose.
100%.
And it's a lose for Earl Spence. Like, no matter what, even if Earl Spence knocks out Mikey Garcia, they're gonna
Everyone will
be like,
say
dude,
he should.
Yeah, you should have, man. You should have done that. But with Mikey Garcia, dude,
That's a
he's
good
moving
one.
up in weight. If he loses, all he has to say is that, okay, I'm gonna go back down in weight and fight a tough competitor with him. So it's for businessman, it's a win-win for Mikey Garcia. That's for
So
sure.
there's a couple things that have come up in support of you. So one, Inspire Media said, listen to the pro boxer. Mikey's going to get KO'd. Down with that. RR1000 says Mikey's supposedly been sparring welterweights. I hope so. I mean, it's a welterweight title
Yeah,
fight.
I hope
Exactly.
so.
It's a welterweight title fight. If he's sparring anyone be below welterweight, then I would be confused and have questions for Robert Garcia. So Mikey daring to run from Loma from Stephen McCowan. So you've probably heard me say this a little bit too, which is that to Jojo's point, this is a safer fight in many ways than fighting Lomachenko at 135 for a unified title. And I think we mean different things by safe. It's safe in the sense that what Jojo just said, it's kind of a win-win. If he loses, people will say, yeah, he's supposed to lose. He jumped up 2 weight classes. Errol Spence is a big welterweight already.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Errol Spence has speed. He has power. He has skills. So there's kind of this built-in, like, okay factor. Like, if he loses, that's okay. If he loses to Lomachenko at 135, where he's considered the bigger fighter between the two, then yes, I think the loss is a little bit less convenient, I guess, for Mikey. So I do agree with that.
And again, it goes back to the business aspect of it, man. How many years did Mikey take off because of the whole situation with Top Rank? Was Bob ever going to make that fight between Mikey and Lomachenko?
I think he took like 3 years off or
Right?
some shit like that.
Fighting
it took a long ass
It
time.
took a
2
long
3 years
ass
off,
time.
yeah.
So it's just like, who knows if that fight could even be made? I mean, so he might as well step up, get the money, because he's going to get paid a shit ton of money for this fight.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
But let's not get crazy here. Errol Spence is a badass opponent. Like, I know you jumped on and said nobody knows Spence. Like, whether people know him or not, that's a badass man right there.
Yeah,
Right?
he
So,
is.
Like,
Yeah, he's a bad-
he is.
You
He
know,
is.
like,
Nobody's
I
taking
get-
anything
if
away
you
from
don't
Earl.
maybe you'll know
maybe
him
people
next
don't
month.
know him. Yeah, if maybe people don't know him, but he's a bad dude, and I think most of us know that. So
Yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean,
Hands down, man.
here's the thing with here, and here's another thing about this fight, man. There's gonna be some rust on Spence because
Sure.
you're gonna
'Cause he only fought the one round, like, in the last
one
year.
round in
Yeah.
the last year and a half, 2
Yeah,
years,
you're
one
right.
round.
You're right.
So I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
saying that it's gonna affect him a lot, but
He's
know,
he's gonna fight in his backyard too, though.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're fighting in Texas, right?
I'm
Yeah.
sure there's gonna be a shit ton of Mexicans there. 'Cause I'll be there,
Insp-
and I take up 2 seats, so I'm good.
Inspire Media said the real title is who is best at 135. Errol Spence is a real title, bro. Like, I understand that. Like, I'm upset that he decided to vacate 135, not to unify. Like, I would have liked to have seen the Lomachenko fight, but that doesn't mean that that's not a legit. I mean, if he goes up and beats Errol Spence, he's a 147-pound title holder. The only question after that is, like, does he even stay there, right? Like
Yeah.
you at that point, do you vacate and kind of go back down, or because you don't want to be making fights most likely with the likes of Bud Crawford and stuff like that.
Or maybe he
Man,
can make fights with like Danny Garcia.
Yeah,
and
like
stuff
Danny,
that.
yeah, those
You
guys.
know,
Big
unify
fights,
with
yeah.
Pacquiao, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, unify with Pacquiao has
That'll be a good ass
the
fight.
regular title, right?
Oh yeah, Pacquiao.
Manny Pacquiao, Earl
Yeah,
Spence, or Manny Pacquiao,
Mikey Garcia.
Yeah.
Shit.
But if you're talking about real titles, this is a regular title.
Okay.
It's not a super title.
All right.
Also for the WBA or something.
It's the WBA regular title.
If he comes with a regular title, I want you to tell fucking Jojo to his face when you're putting pads on in the ring with him that his title ain't real, right, bro? Let Jojo fucking take it to your ass.
You act first of all, I'm not being critical of Manny. It's not Manny's fault, right? But I think that there is this perception that it's kind of silly. That
I know
there's
what
two
you're
WBA
saying.
champ-
I know what you're
They
saying.
had two champions fight on the same night last week.
So
Yeah, they did.
That's weird. In the same weight class, they had two champions in the same weight class on different networks fighting in the same night.
and now they got a gold champion. Do you see that new belt?
They
The
had
gold champion.
The WBA 130-pound champion on one network, and the WBA regular 130-pound champion on another. Like, come on, man. How are we supposed to keep track of that? It's hard enough to keep track. I'm a boxing fan.
It's about money, man. It's all good.
I hope you pick up that WBA regular
I
belt.
know in California you can rehydrate more than 10%. You can hydrate? I wonder if there's a rehydration clause.
In California, you can rehydrate more than 10%. Yeah. Well,
What title is it for? What belt does Earl have? It's the IBF?
IBF, right?
If it's the IBF, it might just be 10 pounds, Nancy. If it's the IBF, I know we have Nancy Rodriguez asking a question if there's going to be a rehydration clause. Now, we know there's a rehydration clause for the Canelo Jacobs fight. For every pound over 10 before 8 a.m., it's a $100,000 penalty.
That's a contractual thing, right?
Yeah,
because they wouldn't.
It's an IBF rule because the IBF had that same rule with Jacobs and Triple G, and Jacobs basically threw that fucking belt in the trash can and said, "Fuck that! I'm rehydrating as much as I want to."
Yeah, because Jacobs is a big dude.
Jacobs is a big dude, so that's when he vacated that IBF.
Wow.
Yeah, no, that's very true. But I thought if it's not contractual. So that fight didn't take place in Las Vegas, right? This one's taking place in Las Vegas.
Yeah, the other one I think was in New York or some shit.
Yeah.
New York.
So in Las Vegas, like I believe, and Nancy's on, so maybe she can correct me if I'm wrong. But I thought that there was Las Vegas decided not to permit the rehydration as part of the sanctioning body's rules and regulations. If it's in the contract, that's one thing. The fighters have to adhere to it. But if it's not in the contract, then I don't think they could do it for Vegas.
That's a good question. You know, that's something I'm gonna have to hit the IBF up about because it is for the IBF welterweight title. So I'm gonna have to.
That's their regulations and rules. And when the WBC tried to do that, the Las Vegas said no.
That was for a secondary weigh-in. I think they just wanted to check the weights because the WBC is working on a new program as far as weight cutting and doing some science on it with UCLA. They're working with UCLA.
Nancy said I'm right. Yeah, Steve McGowan, that's what I'm talking about. Steve McGowan said, don't WBC have a rehydration rule now too? Yes, they do, but that was not enforced in Las Vegas in a recent title fight. Las Vegas was like not having it.
Exactly.
Yeah, they were not having it. So it was not in the contract between the two fighters. And they were like, "No, you can weigh whatever."
Yeah, so it's gonna be interesting if they're gonna let Earl, rehydrate as much as he wants to. What the IBF is actually going to do. So that's a good question. I may have to email the IBF and try to find out, see if there's any type of clause between that because, like Jojo said, man, when Earl's walking around at 180 pounds, shit.
It's a big boy.
He's already a big welterweight, dude. You remember when Canelo was fighting at 154 and Errol used to call out Canelo all the time and just be like, "I'll take you at 154. We're good."
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's like he didn't care about going up to 154. No, he didn't.
Because he used to fight as an amateur at 152. He used to fight at 152. Yeah. He jumped down 147.
You were a bantamweight as an amateur, right?
Yeah, I was fighting at 123.
Yeah. You were fighting at 123? That makes sense.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
But
what do you think of that undercard, man? You got Benavidez coming back against Jay Leon Love on the undercard.
He's about to get that man some work.
Yeah, and he's gonna stop him.
I started working with David.
He's
Benavidez,
bad, bro.
He is a bad dude.
He's a bad dude.
He is vicious, and he's on my table, and he's vicious. You know what I'm saying? But I got to see him spar. I got to see him hit the bag with his pops. Bro.
Hey, Caleb Plant better watch his fucking mouth. I tell you that, man. Because if not,
he was
David's gonna shut it for him, man.
Hey.
You know what was cold about that is like I was literally at the press conference yesterday, and David showed up because he's gonna be on the undercard, or Mikey, and they asked him about Caleb Plant, and he was just very
respectful,
like super. And he kind of said, and really his comments were along the lines of, "Hey, you know what? He's doing great things. He's looking good, but I can't look past Jay Leon Love, right? And my responsibility, right? So he's kind of like, my responsibility is this fight, so I need to focus on Jay Leon Love, and maybe sometime down the road we can sort of work it out with Caleb Plant." And so he was very respectful. And then later on that day, I hear that Caleb Plant is like saying he can't keep his nose clean and all this stuff. Like, shit.
You playing with fire, homeboy.
Man.
Caleb Plant's a bad dude, though, man.
He's a defensive fightor. He can box. He's a world champion. He can box.
He already cost me a Just Boxing T-shirt to Steven McCowan because
But David is no joke, man. I remember seeing David a few years back, man, at a StubHub Center, and I remember telling my wife, I said, his work ethic is 100 times better than his brother's, man. And then that was before Jose got shot, and
that's right.
And it was just like, man, and he's turned out to be a great champion. And he's a good champion. Yeah, he had a mistake in his life. He made a mistake, doesn't make him a bad person. It's a bad choice, and you just learn from it. Shit. So
yeah, no, he's on a mission, y'all. Let me tell you. I have the opportunity. I have the opportunity now to work with him in his recovery process, and very humble guy, man. I mean, I didn't realize he was 22, 23 or whatever he was.
Oh, he's young, yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like,
yeah, he's a kid, man.
That's
David's
crazy, man. And dude, yeah, I hope that happens because I can't wait to see that.
Yeah,
he's vicious, man. His body shots, from how big he is, he puts everything and anything into those punches. I'm sure you guys saw that video on Instagram of him and his pops. Man. What?
I don't think Chris Arreola though, man. I don't think he's a pay-per-view material. They just announced him to open up the pay-per-view, and it's just like, come on,
who's he gonna fight?
He was there last night.
Yeah, I'm not for sure he's gonna fight, but they announced him as opening up the pay-per-view
I didn't realize
card.
he was still fighting.
Right.
Inspire Media said, I was at Bivol Benavides sparring. I saw them go 20 rounds. Actually, somebody asked David about that yesterday.
I've seen it.
Yeah. Somebody asked David about sparring Bivol
Wild
yesterday
card.
and what that was like.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that they both put in good work and that iron sharpens iron or steel sharpens steel. That's kind of what his reaction was to it is, we both.
Who's this Inspire Media? Who are you, bro? I mean, I see the name. I see the Inspire Media, but like who?
He doesn't want you to know who he is.
He's staying in the.
He's staying in the shadows, you know. If he
wanted
you to know his real name, his internet name wouldn't be Inspire Media. He would be like Stephen McCowan or Boxeo on here.
All right, fucker.
Oh man, Nancy Rodriguez said we all make mistakes, Anthony. I think she's referring to your pronunciation of most fighters' names. Just kidding. She's not. I'm just messing with you.
Man, ain't nothing wrong with a line of coke every now and then. It's all right, bro. Fuck it. Or a joint. It's legal now.
Yeah, it's legal for sure.
Yeah. Well, that's for
That's
you,
my
kids.
that's
Thanks
my
for watching. Yeah.
That's my recovery.
Yeah. For all the children tuned in to Beat the Count.
To harp on that,
Coca-Cola.
I've been using CBD oil now.
Yeah,
during my sessions.
There you go.
So tell me about that.
Ain't nothing wrong with that, man.
It's an amazing product. I work. Going to start slowly work with Athletic. It's a company called Athletic CBD, and they have a couple of products in the Legends Boxing in Norwalk. And I reached out to the owner, and he sent me a sample. It's fantastic. The CBD is, if anybody doesn't know or understand what CBD is, there is no THC in it. There is no marijuana.
Okay.
Extract in it.
No hallucinogens or nothing like that, man.
Nothing. Yeah. So what this company's done, it's paired it with tea tree oil, apricot oil, all those essential oils, and then they link it in with CBD oil, which is a hemp extract. So it's basically another formulated extract from the actual marijuana plant. And what it does, it actually seeps through the pores and it starts to break down inflammation internally. And so when I use it during my cupping sessions. I use it through my scraping. I use it for my IMT stuff. And it's a great product. So
we've got a question for you on it. It says pure CBD or with methanol and all that.
Yeah. So this actually has methanol in it, and it has tea tree oil, apricot oil, pure CBD oil. It's great. You just have to make sure you're taking it at a certain quantity. I use it for massage purposes, so it has certain quantities of it. If you're going to use it as a tincture, you have to make sure you're able to, use it between, either 300 milligrams or they have it up to even 1,200 milligrams. Just depends on what you're using it for.
It's good question, Steven. You impressed me with that. He was like, wait, are we talking pure CBD or
I've used it one time, right? And it's not like aspirin or it's not like a morphine or anything like that. It's not like Vicodin.
Nope.
I had a bad back pain one night. I mean, like it was like killing me. And I was with a photographer that had some, and he's like, "Hey, man, just put a couple of drops under your tongue. You won't feel anything.
Yep.
You don't get
that?
Yeah. No, I did, man. I mean, that's how much pain I was in. I would have took if he would have had Vicodin or whatever. I would have took. If he would have had an oxy, I would have took it, man. That's how much pain I was in that night, bro.
I feel you.
And I took a couple of drops, bro, and it went away, man.
Yeah.
It took my back pain away, and like it wasn't just. It was kind of just like it progressed.
It's a slow, steady progression.
Yeah, exactly.
CBD oil is amazing, man, and people are tripping on it because they think it's marijuana. And
It's
stuff,
not,
so.
bro. It's
Nancy said, "Don't leave you loose in Las Vegas," and now I understand why. Somebody just comes
remember
up to you and is like, "Hey, homie, just put a couple drops of this on your tongue."
Just put a couple drops.
remember when I showed up
You're
at
good.
6 o'clock? I showed up at 6 o'clock in the morning.
That's classic.
Then I showed up. We had what was it? The boxing expo, the day of the Canelo Triple G fight, the second fight, man. And we had the boxing expo that morning where we had to set up. And I showed up, man, and I was still half drunk and high. It wasn't. Sean got stuck doing all the work.
Yeah, man. They left me to do everything. They let me do everything.
I stood around for like an hour.
Give me like a corner like this big, and then they were like, "Here, you set everything up."
And then I'm like,
and then he's like, "I'm going to the fight. See you
like,
later."
I gotta go take a shower. I'm going to the fight. I'm gone.
And he left. He like left.
I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Oh, that's classic.
Oh man.
That's teamwork, baby. That's teamwork.
Teamwork.
right.
Yeah. So Jojo, this was bound to come up, so I may as well bring it up. We have a question about the robbery.
The robbery
So-
story.
So I'm sure
Oh
for those
my
of you
God.
who haven't seen, there was an
Sorry.
Instagram live post from Jojo earlier this week,
Yeah.
which it appears from the video that they caught the individual who was trying to was it take things from your house?
Yeah, all right. So
Okay.
basically, I'm gonna tell you guys a story. So basically, it was it's a long like story that it's actually like unbelievable, man. It's kind of insane. So like, it was just me and my mom. We were actually at my house, and she ended up spending the night and stuff like that, and she was just chilling, and we ended up waking up like around, I would say, like 11:30, 12, and we decided to go to the grocery store because I wanted to get some groceries for my house and stuff. So we ended up going to the grocery store, and I literally bought a whole bunch of stuff. So on the way back, I was because I live in an apartment, so I'm on the 4th floor. So I had a whole bunch of my groceries, and my mom had groceries too, and we were going up to the 4th floor, and I was literally like walking to my place, and like when I was walking to my door, I literally see someone walk out of my door, and I'm like, dude, is it like that's my fucking house? And I was like, but then I started realizing like I actually asked for service for them to come fix my sink because I was having some problems with my sink. So I thought it was like one of the people that worked there that was just getting the job done and stuff. So I didn't like think anything of it. So I was like, all right. And then I started thinking like, shit, am I on the right floor? So I looked, and I was like, yeah, I'm on the 4th floor. So I was like, oh yeah, maybe it is the worker. And then I told my mom. And then she's like, nah, Jojo. He was like, he has one of your bags. And I was like, what do you mean? And I look, and like he's like walking out with a whole bunch of bags and stuff. And I seen that he had one of my Olympic bags, like one of my Olympic boxing bags, and like he was carrying it. And I was like, yo, like I said, yo, and he looked, and he just started booking it, boom, boom, boom. And I was like, oh fuck. So like I already knew like where he was going. I thought he was going to like the elevator. So I knew he was going to the elevator. So I went around. I swooped around because I wanted to catch him like downstairs. So I swooped around and I went down the stairs. And when I went down the stairs, I told my mom, like, call the cops and stuff. So she started calling the cops. And then, like, I went, like, towards, like, the main office. And, like, I was looking to see where he was at. So I told, like, the main girl, I was like, hey, yo, someone tried to, like, rob my shit. I'm about to chase him. Like, call the cops. So she was like, all right. So, like, during that time, I see him. And he's, like, by the pool area fucking hauling ass, dude. So, like, I'm like, all right, I'm going to just, like, run around, like, my apartments and, like, catch him, like towards, like him like trying to escape and stuff like by the mall area. So like I ended up like going around, and then like I'm looking for him, and then like there was one of the main girls in the office. She was like chasing him too. So she ends up like she's like right there, right next to me, and I'm like, where is he at? She's like, he's by the Chase Bank. So like I'm like, all right. So I start running like towards the Chase Bank, and then I see him, and he's like jumping over a fence. So I start hauling ass, dude. And I barely like I reached for him, and like I try to grab him, but he already like jumps off, and he's over the fence. And then he drops one bag. He's like, here's your shit, man. Like, get on. I was like, nah, fuck that. Give me all the shit. So like I ended up like fucking like jumping the fence, and like I started following him. And then this guy is like fucking like he's insane. Like he's all drugged up and stuff. Like he literally fucking ran across the freeway. He ran across the freeway, dude, like on oncoming traffic and shit. And I was like, oh hell no, I ain't gonna do that. Like I'm not that stupid to like fucking run on the freeway. So like where I'm at, like it's like a bridge. So I seen him running across the freeway. I was like, all right, I'm gonna go under the bridge and then like run back up because I know he's just crossing the freeway and stuff like that. So I was like, all right. So I went under the bridge and I started running up, and like I seen him, and he was just walking all cool and stuff because he thought he got away because he went across the freeway. So he was all walking like all cool like on the street and stuff, and I just creeped up on him, dude. I started like running, I creeped up and I grabbed him, boom, like that. And he was like already tired because like he was like running and stuff, so he was out of breath. So I grabbed him and I do a 360 spin, dude, and I fucking slam it on the floor. Boom.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, and then I get on top of him and I punch him 3 times. Boom, 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 like that. And like he's already like knocked out because he's already like from like
fucking Jojo socked him.
Yeah, that and he's like already tired and stuff, dude. So like at that time, freaking the cops and the stuff already came because they're already on it because of my mom and stuff, and they called.
Yeah.
So then they finally, like, the cops came, they pulled up, and then they separated me, and they ended up getting them, man. But he had all my shit. He had my watches, he had all my jewelry, my diamonds, like a whole couple of my money and all that stuff, dude.
Dude, I will say that when I watched the video,
You
were heated, bro.
Oh yeah, I was pissed.
Oh
I still
Fuck
wanted,
this motherfucker.
yeah, I still wanted to beat his ass, dude. I was like,
so
fuck,
angry.
yeah.
Which understandably so.
Yeah.
Right? Understandably. But like that, my first reaction to seeing that video is like, damn, he is heated right now.
Yeah, I was
like,
pissed.
what?
I sent it to Sean. I'm like, fuck, they robbed Jojo. And he's like, what?
I know, it was insane.
He's like, is he still coming to the show? I'm like,
Dude.
Hey, low key, I felt the same. I was like, damn, we're not gonna do the show no more. He ain't gonna get none of his stuff back. I hit him up and so I was like, bro, you good? I said, and so he responded. He's like, yeah. I said, well, hey, remember Sunday, bro? 1 o'clock. We gotta be.
Dude, I think I'm
great.
like, I have this my basic thing. I told Stax this because we have a lot of fighters scheduled on. I've had a lot of fighters cancel. Obviously, I've had a lot of fighters even cancel on the day of and stuff like that. So I have this measuring stick, and my measuring stick is when I put the flyer out. Do they like my post on Instagram? That's like my measuring stick because I've noticed that like when cats don't actually like my post a lot, they don't show up, right? So like I put the flyer out and I seen this and my head immediately went to, did Jojo like that post on Instagram? So I pull it up and I'm like, damn, he didn't. I bet he's not.
Hey.
And then I go and I looked and you had reposted it.
Yeah.
Right? So you had reposted it. I looked at yours and he liked it and I'm like, all right, cool. That's
Yeah, we're
that.
straight.
Yeah, I was like, we're straight.
We good.
He's good.
so like my 9 to 5, man, is out in Barstow. So I'm like way in the fuck out there, right?
Oh,
I work
far.
I work in Barstow, right?
Wow.
So Jojo shows up out there, man, to feed the vets one day.
Oh,
you
yeah,
know, right
he did,
before
yeah.
Christmas. He
that's
showed
dope.
up out there to feed the vets. Him, Danny Romano, whatever. This dude gets caught in a fucking firestorm, bro. Like in between November and December, it was last year.
Oh yeah.
And the whole fucking freeway was on fire, bro. The
Yeah.
15, the
What?
pass, right?
was.
And he's caught, and it took his ass like 7 hours to get home from Barstow, man, because the pass coming over the Cajon Pass was on fire,
Holy
man.
moly.
It was
Yeah.
insane, bro. It was like a 7-8 hour trip.
Yeah. And I'm like,
it's a
hey, man,
Barstow.
hey, thanks for coming out, bro. Like, here's a burrito.
Enjoy the fucking 8-hour ride home.
Oh my god.
Take it to go because you're going to be stuck in traffic for a while, bro.
That's crazy.
Nah, so I knew he was coming. I'm like, fuck, if this dude can make a trip to Barstow, man, he'll come out to Hawthorne, bro.
No, I appreciate you guys coming on. I really do.
Thanks for having us, man. Appreciate
no,
Of
it.
it's-
course, man.
it's great.
Before we sign off, I want to give you guys an opportunity. Is there anywhere that we should follow you? Where do we keep up with you? All that kind of stuff.
Nancy said, yep,
Eddie?
we were stuck there too.
Oh yeah,
You
yeah. I
wanna-
mean,
yeah.
I'll chime in. You can follow me at Active Body Recovery. That's the business page. Mr. Active Body Recovery is the same business page, a little bit more personal.
Okay.
More family, more stuff on there. Facebook, Active Body Recovery. Don't hesitate to hit me up if you guys need anything. Any information, any education, any type of therapy, recovery. I'm the guy in San Gabriel Valley. Just like how Jojo puts himself on a high pedestal, I put myself on that as well. And whatever I can do to help you guys, amateurs, boxers, basketball players, football, anybody out there, I'm the guy for that. So I really appreciate the time.
Of course, man.
Yeah, and if you guys want to follow me, you guys can follow me on Instagram, Jojo Diaz Jr. on Twitter, Jojo Diaz Jr. And I'm actually going to start doing a YouTube channel as well, where it's like my day in life of like what I do and what I do like in my off life and during like my stuff outside of training and just like my day in life of activities and everything. So I'm going to actually start doing that pretty soon as well. So you guys could actually subscribe to my channel and stuff. But in the meantime, if you guys want to follow me on Instagram, Jojo Diaz Jr. and on Twitter as well, Jojo Diaz Jr. And I'm hoping to fight again May 4th on the Canelo Jacobs card, either against Scott Quigg or we're going to try to get Andrew Cancio. So
Yeah, that'd be dope.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, you can follow me at Supreme Boxing on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We got all 3 social media pages. We also have the website, supremeboxinginc.com. You can follow us on there for updated stories on fighters. Like Eddie said, man, if you guys need a recovery specialist, go to him. I know a lot of boxers that tune in. I know a lot of guys that are just starting up, man. make sure you guys are doing the right thing. It's important. It's important that you don't have these fly-by-night massage therapists, these guys that are going to hurt you more than help you. You need somebody that has training. You need somebody that knows what they're doing, that has experience in the game. And if he's working on a world title contender and Jojo Diaz
And Dominic.
and Dominic Brazil,
Yeah.
Yep.
as far just to name a few,
David Benavidez.
David Benavidez, come on.
Shoot him out.
He's he's doing something right, guys.
Abner Mares.
Yeah, Abner Mares.
Yeah, I mean, so it's just like you have to take your career in your own hands. You get what you pay for.
That's right.
And, if you're going to be paying this guy, the Theo from Tijuana $20 to work on you,
Don't go get massages
to
at the
do
mall.
the little
Yeah,
quebra
let's do
huesos
that.
on you,
That's right.
then that's on you at the end of the day, guys.
That's
So,
right. I appreciate that.
man.
Appreciate
So just it is what it is. It's like anything, man. So
All right. And then for those of you that I missed on the live chat, Devon, thank you for joining us. Steven, appreciate you. Send me your address information. I'll get you the shirt that I owe you. And thanks in advance for the review. You can follow me at Beat the Count on Instagram, at Beat the Count on Facebook. I'm Chris, your boxing enthusiast. That's it this week. I'll be back with you guys next week. Peace.
Peace.